What's going on, guys? Welcome to Revolver Live, the gaming podcast that says forget the past, the future belongs to the nerds. I am the Atlanta Anaconda today, joined by the amazing Revolver crew. Starting off first, top of the list, Mr. Wilson. How you feeling this week, my friend?
Feeling great, man. I had a busy day at the studio this week, and I have been doing a whole lot of nothing this weekend except playing video games,
Nice.
and drinking beers. So it's been good. It's been great.
That sounds like the best week I could possibly imagine. It's been very interesting around these parts too. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, buddy.
Mr. Gary Diaz, how the hell are you out there in the UK, sir?
We're fine. I have not died of the Arctic blizzard that beset us last week. Pour a little out for the UK homies. We have suffered terrible conditions. You know, we had almost an inch of snow. It was life-threatening.
Sorry,
My
UK,
word.
It ground
Shut it
to a
down.
halt.
Horrible. I mean,
Yeah, honestly, it ground to a halt. The temperature got to like -3. It was bad, man.
That's pretty bad.
It's what the Canadians call like a summer afternoon. But it kind of ground our country to a halt.
so
But actually,
make it
on
in
a-
Canada is what you're saying then.
No, they're made of sterner stuff. Those maple syrup loving gentlemen. No, I've actually had a fun week. I finished off the Uncharted series, so I've now been through the emotional journey and roller coaster of Nathan Drake.
Oh,
It's fantastic
let
series.
me
really.
ask you a question. Now that you've played through the complete anthology, and I'm guessing this includes the Golden Abyss, correct?
The Vita version, yeah, I'd already played that one. Well, most of it. I played like 90% of the game on a flight, actually.
How did you feel about the end of Uncharted 4? Do you think that was the closure that was deserved of these very momentous characters?
I'm not going to go spoilers because some other people might be like me, and I know it's an old game, but it's a game that hinges on the storyline. But I like what they did. I think Naughty Dog, if they're going to do what they did, I would have liked them to have lent into it a bit harder, and I would have liked to have maybe played a little bit more in that world that they created, or that epilogue that they created.
Okay.
And maybe seen a few more of our other, favorite characters where they were and what they were up to in that world.
Yeah,
So
man.
yeah, loved it. Really, really enjoyed it. I actually, funny enough, I know it's gonna cut you deep, Beastly, but I actually preferred that to The Last of Us. In all honesty.
Just spite Beastly. That's part of weighing the options here is what's going to piss Beastly off more. So
Yeah.
I did.
Always
I
pick
genuinely-
option A that pisses Beastly off more.
just put it over the
Always,
top,
every time.
barely.
Well, to each his own, and of course, I think the Uncharted series is a phenomenal series. Amy Hennig really got down with the creation of that world and those characters, and they really built an outstanding world. So I can't really hate on you for saying that game is better in your opinion than The Last of Us. It doesn't mean that you're not wrong, but I do totally respect that. Moving on, back to the United States, where it's probably cold where you live too. Mr. Briar Rabbit, how you feeling this week, my friend?
Pretty damn good, man. Gary has me hooked to a new game. That we'll be talking about it later.
That's been the story for the last how many years now?
2 years, I
wanna
believe.
say
1
2
year?
years.
No, 2 years. 1
Two
year.
at least.
2
that
years.
You spent sold thousands of
18
dollars. I remember. He first told me in our old show, he said, yeah, there's this guy that I play games with every now and then. His name's Gary, and he lives in the UK. And he told me I should just buy a whole bunch of shit. And you know what, Beasley? I bought it. I was like, who the fuck is this?
I bought it.
He's
Now,
a bit of an asshole, but he's right.
yes. I was talking to someone who will remain unnamed for the time being. We'll talk about it in a little bit, about making a purchase that I'm going to be making in the next few days. And he mentioned Mr. Diaz as a potential catalyst for this pretty monumental change in my life. And I said, fucking Gary. He
Fucking
said,
Gary
"Absolutely."
Diaz.
He said,
It happens. It
yes.
happens.
I was driving home from work, and as one does, but what was special about this drive home from work was, I put Briar on, and I put it in audio only mode, so there's no temptation to look down at the phone while I'm driving. And I'm on my way back from the gas station. I'm almost home, and I hear Briar say, "You've cost me a lot of fucking money, Dave." And, And then I heard something about I had the Xbox in my cart, and I was like, $500. I'm not gonna play this thing. And he goes, just don't tell your wife. And like this, I could see it unfolding.
It's a legit strategy.
I literally. Gary's been talking a lot about the Xbox One X, and I mean, it is a marvelous system, right? It's like it's truly powerful. When he started talking about bringing older Xbox 360 games, they're backward supporting these older Xbox 360 games and making them 60 frames per second in 4K. Yes. I was like, oh my god! But I had the thing in my Amazon cart. I was like, I was basically gonna check out, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not gonna fucking play this thing.
Reality set in.
I have an Xbox. It's in the closet over there.
You guys are missing out on the majesty of the One X.
I believe
beautiful beast.
And Barry, believe it or not,
X.
I would have already had my my Xbox One X. I talked to you guys last week about buying one in a few days, and the reason I was going to buy one was because I love to play PUBG on console with my girl. I love to play Sea of Thieves with her, and we'd be able to go out there and chill together in this world. And then I was getting ready to drop the $500. For the people who don't know, I sold a YouTube video. One of my YouTube videos sold to a Japanese company. They contacted me about 2 weeks ago. They wanted to buy it from me, so they sent me $450. So yeah, that kind
That's
of
the easiest fucking money you ever made.
It's a fantastic video. I'm going to be honest, BC.
It is good.
Can we just describe this video to everyone that's listening right now?
Tell them how long I'm in it.
You're in it. Blink and you miss it. Man.
Not even a full second, Briar. Am I lying?
No, you're not, man. It's quick. It's literally the easiest $450 you'll ever make in your entire life.
The video, from what I can tell from watching it, and Briar watched it with his chat actually on stream live, and we were all watching it trying to figure out exactly what was going on. From what I understand it, we're watching an Asian like super noodles, I believe, and I think they wanted some African American reactions as an egg fell into it. I think that was what they were going for.
That's what it seemed like, but there were Caucasians in the video.
Was there a Caucasian? I must have missed him too.
Yeah, there was.
Video, but
I got really scared watching it at first because it was just like a series of black men like getting really excited. I'm like, oh shit, is this guy gonna be like super racist?
They can get away with some shit.
No, it was a Japanese commercial. I might have turned the money down. No, I'm just kidding. I would have took it happily. But
Hell no.
Gary, please continue to elaborate and explain what this video is all about.
Well, as I said,
link the video in chat for chat. They're all asking to see it.
While I'm describing it, video going, for anyone that's watching on Twitch, we're going to drop it in. I guess we can put it in the audio description. So if you're watching this on podcast services, it'll be there. What you've missed out on if you haven't got the time to watch this video is, as I said, it's an Asian lady, I believe, and she is making what looks like a cup of noodles or a super noodle. Mm-hmm. And then the moment of climax when people reach a euphoric mass, the ejaculatory scream comes when an egg is cracked into the noodle.
I think that's the kind of scream they were going for, an ejaculatory. But continue.
Well, that's what I saw, and I could not fathom for me what they were advertising.
It was very confusing
in that free-form fashion.
I took the Japanese title and I took it to Google Translate, and it said even foreigners are excited to eat raw eggs. I couldn't believe it. And I contacted the lady, the person who was speaking to me on behalf of this company, and I said, hey, if you need anything else, just let me fucking know.
Right.
Because they literally used my footage of me screaming my ass off at the Final Fantasy VII remake video for a split second. And then she sends me an email and said, your wire transfer has been confirmed. I checked my bank, $450 extra. I was like, holy shit.
I would like to see the search terms that they put into Google to find the videos that they put in there.
Excited scream.
I was going to use
Ejaculatory African American scream.
Man, that is a safe search and a half.
No need to turn on safe search for that one, folks. It's for sure.
That is an incognito clear the history search there. Ejaculatory African American scream.
I was going to use the money that she sent me.
Well, we've got a title for the episode now.
I was going to take that $450. You know, it was money that I didn't expect. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to use this money and buy me an Xbox One X. It'll be a completely free console, and or virtually free. And then at the last minute, I decided, well, if I get that console and play one game with Gary, I really won't have anybody. I don't have anybody in the Xbox ecosystem that I game with. It would be money wasted. So I decided to put it into another direction. And we're going to talk about that. It's going to be really exciting. For once, I feel like I'm going to be somebody. And for the people watching the show for the first time, Revolver Live is a gaming podcast with 6 revolving topics. You can be a part of the show by submitting your topics for consideration at revolvergamescast@gmail.com. That's revolvergamescast@gmail.com. We go live every Sunday at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/Briar Rabbit. That is twitch.tv/Briar Rabbit. The video is then shared at Briar Rabbit's YouTube channel and my YouTube channel, Beastly Gamer. If you're unable to see the live feed, that is us now, or the YouTube video, check us out in podcast form on Podbean, iTunes, or your favorite podcast service provider. And with that, welcome to Revolver Live episode 31. I really, really missed you guys, and I love you all.
I think eventually we're just gonna have to pull that gaming podcast right out of the description.
Awesome.
I promise you, we
Occasionally
do
we
play
talk
games.
about some games. Sometimes we talk about African American ejaculate.
What's the side
Mostly.
of Elon Musk?
Mostly.
African American. You gotta say it like an African American, Briar.
Uh-huh.
African Americans busting nuts to raw eggs. Holy shit! I don't even want to Google that. That would be horrible. So
Just a nut in a cup of noodle. Amazing.
Gary, when I saw the video, I was so confused. I did not know what to say. But when I saw that money in my bank, I said, "Hey, fuck it."
You would say after that.
I keep screaming at egg, man. You show me an egg, I'll fucking scream at it. $450 done.
They ever need, you know,
Swear to God.
they ever need a white guy stoner reaction?
That's it.
You know?
Yeah.
All right, so this week I think that we're all going to be posting videos of us screaming at fucking eggs on YouTube.
Yeah, man. Maybe we could start a meme. Maybe this is viral. Could everyone just tweet us videos of them screaming at eggs, please?
I want to do it so my neighbors see me do it. See what they think.
Yes, I think that's a good idea. Just like screaming bloody obscenities at an egg in your front yard.
Film them and then go over to them and have a contract back. If I pay you $50, can I use your face in this video?
Oh no! So we got some exciting news. I think it kind of ties into our first topic, right? Is our first topic that actually?
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, we got some exciting news. We are now Revolver has gone official. We are now sponsored by On Air PC, which we're very excited about. On Air PC, if you guys don't know, is a company that sells PCs to gamers and to streamers. So if you're looking to build a new PC and you want a touch of service, really like some customer service for a change, you call up Ryan and he helps you build a custom PC that is exactly to your specifications, whether you know what those are or not. Beastly, you just went through this process because you just bought a PC from On Air PC. So how'd it go, man? Like, you kind of knew your budget and you wanted a PC that could get you gaming with your friends. How did the whole experience go?
Well, he was really amazed to find out that Gary was actually my friend. Check it out. I talked to Ryan on the PC. I actually contacted him through Twitter. It's someone I knew from being in Ohio years ago. I used to go into his video game store, and he knew me. He recognized me from the show a while ago. And Briar, you actually mentioned that to me last year, but I hadn't really bared down and decided to get a PC until I had this extra money. I was like, okay, I got extra money from selling a magnificent video. And, I got a little extra money, tax time. I'm starting a business. Maybe I should go ahead and bite the bullet and get a PC and not be a peasant anymore. I'm just tired of being no more falling in the backyard. I want to be a PC elitist. Okay. And so I contacted Ryan at On Air PC, and I got to say, and this is no bullshit, this is probably the best customer service experience I've ever had. One of the best, top 2 or 3, period. The gentleman contacted me on Twitter, called my phone. I talked to him on my ride home through the very treacherous Atlanta traffic at rush hour. He made that trip enjoyable. He really wanted to know exactly what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be able to do, what spec. He didn't even ask me what specs because I'm not a specs guy. So
Right.
he he could speak that language. He told me he could, hey, Brett, I could say every number that you could ever want to hear. But I said, I don't know what the hell that means because I'm not a PC guy. So he started to kind of give me an idea and give me examples of the kind of games I'll be able to play and the frame rates. And he was asking me my budget, what I wanted to spend, what I didn't want to spend. And at the end of the day, I ended up getting a very, Gary, would you say respectable PC?
Well, yeah, I mean, you've left the console ecosystem, so you've shed your peasant robes, and you're now ascending in the grace and light of our Lord up to the church of unlimited frames. Your feet are off the ground. You're just glowing in our Lord's Gabe's light.
Floating.
Praise Lord Gaben.
Before we talk about the PC itself, I just want to say thank you, On Air PC, for the sponsorship. It really is. It's a nice thing to be able to just call somebody up on the phone, have them work through, be able to have a discussion about what you're going to do with the PC, what your budget is, and have them help you work through what exact parts you need. If you want to get a hold of On Air PC, you can reach them on Twitter, On Air PC. They have a website, onairpc.com, or you can call them directly 330-850-1525. So basically, talk to me. What's this PC?
This PC is not one that I have physically in my possession yet, but it has a GTX 1060 in it, which is not the bare minimum. You know, coming from a 960M, that's like 1,000 extra points. So I don't know what the hell that translates to. I actually talked to Gary. I talked to Ryan at On Air PC, and he kind of explained to me what this is capable of doing, coupled with the CPU that he's included in my package. Questions that were asked of me are ones that I really appreciate. He asked me, do I intend on streaming? Do I have any streaming hardware? Would I be needing an Elgato? He is asking all these questions, and so he was able to really figure out the stuff that I do have. I have a good camera. I've got the game capture hardware. And so he was minimizing the price and giving me exactly what I wanted. Other than that, Briar, we kind of talked about what my out-the-door price is, which is very respectable. Something that I'm looking forward to doing. And you know what? I think if I went anywhere else, I probably would have spent a lot more money for the same range of hardware. But not only that, I feel like I actually added a friend, in my life.
Not only that, but like you said, you would have spent a lot more money somewhere else and would have had no idea what the fuck you had. Like that old school feeling of talking to someone on the phone and not just calling a company and then looking up your account number or your invoice number. Like you start to develop a relationship with someone who knows your specific needs. You know what I mean?
I spent more on this fucking laptop than I'm spending.
Oh, dude, laptops are not. They're always going to be more expensive.
You go to eBay, you see an expensive price on a laptop, and you don't know. Hey, you never done this before. There is no sign that says, "Hey, dumbass, if you buy this, you won't be able to upgrade it." But you just think for the moment it's a good idea. And
I'm super excited that you're going to be able to play some games with us on PC.
Yes.
I'm really excited about it. Me and Gary have been playing a ton of Hunt, which we'll be talking about later.
I gotta hear about this.
When we're playing PUBG or Destiny on PC. In all reality, I've really transferred over to PC play for the main part, right? Wilson has to some extent. I know he's been playing a lot of Destiny back on PlayStation 4 because there's actual people to play against there.
What a nice way to say it. I believe Gary's words were, "The stench of controller is still on you."
Listen to it.
That is what the words.
It was.
If you guys think that our conversations are just for the show, I'm sorry, Gary. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I mean, Wilson genuinely offered to play with me yesterday, and I had to make up some excuses not to because I could sniff it through the internet. The taint of the thumbstick, the residue of the rubber on his thumb. It was just not.
Golly, Gary.
Do you have Cherry MX switches on that controller?
Yeah,
so, Gary,
caps you got on those. Oh, wait.
This is what I want to do. And, I was talking to Kate about it because I'm actually going to go out and get my own keyboard and my own display. And you guys showed me some good monitors. I'm going to play mouse and keyboard for 6 weeks straight. I was actually talking to On Air PC about real time, not revolver time. How long would it take for me to get used to mouse and keyboard to where I'm feeling comfortable? And we actually talked about something that Mr. Rabbit said. He said, play for a week and you'll have it. On Air PC said, you're full of shit. I'm going to need at least 4 weeks. And because I'm 37 years old, I'm an old fuck. And you know what? I feel like the Rock Man from the Neverending Story. These hands, these aren't made for mouse and keyboard. So it's like I got to learn a whole new way of walking. And my mind, I'm an old guy now. My mind I don't feel like I could pick it up in a week. So I'm going to play for 6 weeks straight. I told Kate I'm not going to pick up a PlayStation controller. I'm not going to pick up an Xbox controller. Well, I very seldom do that anyway. And I'll try to leave my Switch alone during that time. But I want to, if I'm going to make this investment and buy this PC at an amazing price, and I want to get a good keyboard, a good monitor, and I want to just be balls deep into this world with you guys, traveling the oasis of PC glory.
Not 2 minutes after Beastly was in our Twitter chat saying that he bought a PC, Gary was saying, "What monitor are you buying?"
Yeah, of course.
Spending more people's fucking money,
sending
man.
me links. He was sending me links, bro.
Increase that basket size, man.
Here's what I'm gonna say. Yes, it's gonna be amazing to have you along with these fun journeys on PC, because there's some experiences that you can only get on PC. And like, as far as playing on a keyboard and getting used to it, if you're playing one game for a week, you're going to have a decent understanding of the controls. Once you go over to another game, though, it does take a little bit to get used to that control setup, but you find yourself learning them quicker with each game that you progress through. And there's very simple games to get used to mouse and keyboard. I think Doom is a really good game.
Doom
2016 is a really good introduction mouse and keyboard. It's very fast paced, but at the same time, it's
okay. Good, because I was going to buy that on my Switch, but I guess I'll get
Destiny
it on
is a lot. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, something like Overwatch and Doom, that's going to be those.
Oh, and I'm getting
those two
a
games.
gaming mouse is coming with my PC too, so that's going to be really cool.
Destiny is nice because you can go in PvE and just kind of run around and patrol and just kind of get used to using the stuff. But Doom is great because you can play like the whole narrative of Doom and just kind of get used to aiming, running around, using the shift button. Start working out your pinky. That's all I'm saying.
I'm gonna masturbate at least twice a week, Briar. I'm good with the
pinky ups.
Now look, check this out, okay? I just want to make this known, full transparency. I have to have these every day. I don't know why. I've been drinking them for 2 weeks.
The double espressos.
And I feel that I've become a basic bitch.
I don't know what that means.
Starbucks is not basic bitch.
Because,
yeah, I feel like Dunkin' Donuts is basic bitch.
Dunkin' Donuts,
acceptable.
Are those still around?
I'm not hating. I'm just stating.
So I'm not basic. I am high maintenance bitch.
You're pretty high class if you're drinking.
High class. Oh
definitely high maintenance. I feel like high maintenance really. Yeah, there's a ton of sugar in there.
Yeah, that's like diabetes in a can.
Yeah.
Well, damn, Gary, you just gotta diss everything. Shit, I can't even be a basic bitch without you calling me.
Hey, we're just looking out, Beastly. I
drink some more of this damn shit.
I could drink 2 of those a fucking day, no problem. But the reason I don't is because of all that sugar. You know, sugar is the real white devil, Beastly.
Oh.
Absolutely. I know it's not your kind, Briar. I know it's not your kind. My wife had to go. Look, my wife had to go through tons and tons of stretching herself out metaphorically for me to figure out that white people weren't the devil. Yeah, so she shows it to me every night, and she looks me in my eyes and said, "You know I'm not the devil, right?" And I go, "Yes." So I know it's sugar, the real white devil.
No, but for real though, and Zelmov in chat said it, and I was already gonna say it. The best part of owning a PC, hands down, the Steam sale.
Also, the worst part. You think you're gonna spend less money because everything's on sale, but you go in there and you're like, "Ooh, Tomb Raider for $5. I haven't played this Tomb Raider yet. It's only $5." And then you get to checkout, and it's like, "How am I spending $158 right now?"
Yeah, well, the thing where it gets you is that you say $5 for Tomb Raider, but then where Steam's really clever is they'll say $5 for Tomb Raider, $9 for every Tomb Raider that's ever been made.
Oh man,
you can't say no.
That's another thing I'm really looking forward to. That I got, I think, 30 games on Steam, and sometimes I'm sorry, half of those are anime style hentai point and click games that Gary talked me into buying.
They're
full transparency.
Could we just have a topic someday where we all sit around and talk about how much money Gary has made us spend? Because
Gary is smooth.
We need a support group.
My girl contacted Gary about my monitor for my for Christmas this year. So I'm in
Are
on
you
this
kidding
too.
me?
I'm in on this too.
I upsold her, man. It went well.
Gary he's like that guy with the coat, but he's smoother than him. We got done doing Revolver one day, and Briar was like, "Okay, guys, I'm going to go have dinner. I'll see you later." I said, "All right, brother." Wilson was like, "Man, I got to go get on my bus." He was gone, and then Gary said, "Hey, Beasley, I want to show you something." And I was like, "This hasn't happened before. What?" And then all of a sudden, he said, "Look at this. Tell me this price isn't amazing. I tell you, this game is just you. I see the anime girls on your wall. I know what you like." And I'm like, "Yes, you do." And all of a sudden, I'm buying 20 fucking hentai anime porn games. And I knew it wasn't good for children because she was standing in the hospital room talking to some guy in the bed. And then all of a sudden, she started talking about getting boned. I said, "Nova, get out of here." Yeah,
It was fantastic. That was it. I knew how to appeal to
Gary.
I knew how to appeal to my audience. I just saw Beastly and I was like, "Yeah, I want to see some anime titties," and that was it.
That's all it took. That's all it took. Everyone here is falling victim to Gary's wiles. Gary, you have, I don't know if it's 49 rules of power. I read the book 48, but there has to be one more called the Gary effect. That you look very innocent, but you have an agenda and you get it 100% through to the person you want to get it to. You look like you need to buy a monitor.
I like the finer things in life, and I like my friends and the people, the acquaintances that I move with, to also enjoy the finer things in life. I'm just trying to take you all with me to the promised land.
I love you for it, Gary, but let me just say this. I will never have a TV come out of the bottom of my bed.
Fucking hell, you're missing out. That's the best thing I've ever bought.
Look, man, I got a size 14 shoe. If I hear that shit crack, I go to sleep one night, forget to retract the TV into the bottom of the bed. I roll over. Kate bumps me with her ass. That always wakes me up.
That is true, actually, Beasley. I don't know if you're the same as me. Wilson, you're pretty tall, I think, too. When I lay in bed, like, I have to kind of position myself so that
your feet will be up the bottom of the bed.
Yeah, my head has to only about an inch of room at the top of the bed. Otherwise, my feet are literally hanging off the bed. And if I decide to stretch,
Briar and I are the same
crack
height.
that
We're
TV.
big fucking dudes.
Only 5'11". I'm not that tall.
I'm 6 foot. Okay, is it the size of the bed? Because we got a.
It's a king size bed.
King.
You gotta get that California king, baby.
We got
I
6
fucking
foot
hate California.
in the
That's
UK,
shit.
right?
I don't even
The
eat their
bed-
raisins.
The bed is 5 foot wide, 6'6" long.
Yeah.
That's like the standard UK bed. 6 foot, unless you're fucking 6'6", like some sort. Are you in like the NBA secretly? Like, what the hell is this?
Well, there's there's the headboard and there's got there's a pillow.
Yeah, but the
and,
mattress,
you
the
shift a little
mattress
bit
is
in your
6'6".
sleep.
Gary,
Yeah.
sometimes, Gary, I dream about my wife wearing some of her skimpy outfits and my penis hits the bottom of the bed.
Sometimes I dream I'm in Die Hard and the feet get going.
You got restless leg syndrome.
I'm running through that glass shooting fucking Lars, and a TV could get lost in that kind of a situation.
Running through Takanomi Plaza.
Right.
I can
There's
just hear it now.
benefits to being
Miss
a
Rabbit
small
getting
elf-like.
kicked out of the bed.
Trust there are benefits to being a small elf-like human. Like literally, any size bed to me is just like gargantuan. It's fantastic.
And that's why Beasley is getting a new computer.
I'm super
I
excited
mean,
about it.
tangents aside, Beasley, we have missed you when we play, and it's nice to have something that you're going to be able to join in on and hopefully enjoy the games that you're currently enjoying on console. You're a gamer, you appreciate good games. It's nice that you'll be able to enjoy them in the best version of the game. So
Yeah.
more
As long
power
as
to you, man.
my Witcher on PC, if it can outperform, I'm used to playing on the PS4 Pro. You told me some frames earlier today that just blew. I've never seen a video game go above 60 frames. I mean, it just doesn't happen in our world. So
Yeah.
you were talking 100 frames, 120 frames. I'm like, what is that even like?
You're about to find out.
That's like working in a missionary and then walking into two beautiful women and they say, "Do you know what a menage a trois is?" And you say, "No, I just left
Show me.
church." I
I
have
feel
no
like
clue what these frames are all about.
Tefty had a really good way of saying it. 60 is like your entry level. You know what I mean? And then after 120, and I quote, there's a liquid smooth experience that begins to happen after 120. And it's the only
Really?
way.
Stop
This is
being
what
able
you
to
guys
see the
experience
frames
all
at
the
all,
time.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the only description is like nothing ever judders. Like, as your character moves around, everything is, you can see everything clearly at all times in movement. I would actually argue that the graphics are improved as the frames go up, regardless of if you actually change any of the graphical settings. If you gave me an identical game at 30 frames and at 144 frames, the graphics would look better, indiscriminately at 144. It's a strange phenomenon.
Yeah.
You'll have
Really?
to
That doesn't
comment
make
on
any
it. Yeah.
sense.
It's odd, but it's true.
For multiplayer games too, it's so much easier to, like, when you're spinning around to like spot. Oh shit, that guy's like kind of head glitching that corner there, because it's not just a blurry mess. You can actually like see detail while you're kind of spinning around.
Let me ask you guys a question because I'm really excited about this. And Kate, she told me I seem like a kid, like excited for Christmas, and
Yeah.
I always said I would never be this excited over a PC because PCs fucking suck until I get mine. I'm really excited about this. And when we talk about monitors, Gary, you, Wilson, and Briar mentioned to me that 1080p is probably the sweet spot I want to go. Even though I have 4K TVs and I enjoy that resolution, more than likely a 4K monitor will not be what I want, correct?
No.
Do not do that.
All right. I mean, my laptop has 4K on it. I have no fucking idea why.
Yeah, no, 4K computers just aren't that powerful yet to be able to run high frame rates at 4K. And the highest frame rate you're going to be able to buy a 4K monitor at is 60 for the currently, like right this moment in time. In the future, there'll be 4K high frame rate monitors, and NVIDIA this year at CES kind of unveiled their big screen gaming displays, which will be like large screen, like TV size 4K displays that'll run high FPS or high refresh rates. But right now, you have to spend a shitload to get into 4K. Your computer can't handle 4K, and your frame rates are gonna suck. It's way. I game at 1080 all the time.
Oh, really?
I game it every day at 1080p, and I have a 240 hertz monitor, and I try and make it hit 240 hertz as often as possible.
240 hertz. Is that what we were talking about earlier, Gary? Or was it 140?
So
No, it's
basically, hertz
144.
is if you have a monitor that does 60 hertz, you're only going to be able to achieve, roughly 60 frames a second. You know what I mean? You can overclock some a monitor. Yeah, you can overclock safely some monitors, and it's very easy to do. You don't really need any outside applications, do you, Gary? You can do it right through control panel or device manager, right?
GeForce control panel.
Oh yeah. And it's safe, it's good, but like I would say at the beginning, and this is me personally, it took me a while to appreciate an above 60 hertz monitor, but once you get it, dude, like I love my monitor, dude. I spend so much time in front of this thing. Yeah. And it's really good to invest in it. So
you will immediately notice when for some reason it's defaulted to 60, like just moving your mouse across the screen, you're like, what's gone wrong? Like,
why is my mouse going instead of
Yeah. That's what Tenty's like.
I'm so excited for this.
He's like, I'm thinking about getting 2 extra 144 hertz monitors, so when I take my mouse off the game and go to the desktop, it continues the liquid smooth experience.
And I've seen this before, but I don't know how it works. And I'm sorry that this is kind of hijacking our topic so far. But I can get multiple monitors. I'm getting a whole new computer desk. I'm tired of this shit. There's literally 10 inches next to my laptop for me to move my mouse around. It's a wireless generic mouse that I said, wow, it looks like an expensive one.
My God, I just like acid reflux.
Sorry.
Nausea.
But another thing I was looking at, this laptop is completely ubiquitous when it comes to the keyboard. Just no discerning characteristics to let you know that you're on the W, the S, A, or the D, or anything. And so it's so hard to control it because there's really no the defining characteristic to let you know that you're playing. It's not for gaming. It's a gaming/gaming laptop, but it's just a plain flat mouse and keyboard. It's so hard to use. And so now I'm looking forward to an actual keyboard and getting down that way. 6 weeks, balls deep. It's going to be messy.
One of the cool things about PC gaming, and Gary, you're talking about this a little bit in chat, and you made it a topic, which I think is a really cool topic, is that it's not really as expensive as you think it is. I know that recently I saw a video on Tech Yes City where a guy actually built a $40 PC using used parts that he got off of eBay and stuff that can run Fortnite at 60 frames per second. while me and Gary are often talking about this is glorious, we have, absolutely as top of the line PCs as we could make right now. That's not the average that you're seeing, right, Gary?
Correct. So our next topic, which we're transitioning into, is on the back of the Steam February 2018 hardware summary. So Steam have a little application that when you log into Steam, your PC is profiled, and Steam collect all the information from all the millions of users that they've got, and look at what the detail is on their PC, what the spec is. And I guess the point of this topic is that you probably have a top-of-the-line gaming PC and you didn't even know it, which is kind of cool and reassuring to have. So this hardware focuses and breaks down the different parts of a computer. So we're going to look at some of the headline figures now and maybe discuss them one point at a time. I'm not going to go through every single one because some of them are frankly boring, but the ones that do make sense to talk about are probably the graphics card, because a lot of people think their graphics cards are old or not functional or not going to be fit for purpose. And that's completely not true. I think Briar and I have a 1080 Ti, which is the best graphics card you could possibly get. At retail, it's what, $800, $700, something like that. I think. I don't know what it is anymore.
1080 Ti? Is it?
Yeah.
I think I paid, over $800 for mine. But now, with the way graphics card prices are because of how popular mining is, I think a 1080 Ti is over $1,000.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's around 11.
Yeah.
So $1,100, okay? And we talk about it as if that's just commonplace, as Briar said. Like, we talk about that being the card that we use and the card that's there. What's interesting is that out of all the Steam users that we've got, 0.47% of the Steam users, so not even 0.5% of the Steam users, have the card that Briar and I are talking about. And this isn't a humble brag. This is actually quite the opposite, to say that if you don't have a 1080 Ti, you're not missing out. You are in the 99.95% of people that use Steam.
You mentioned to me earlier, Gary, that a lot of people are still playing on like dated graphics cards like the 960.
Yes.
So
100%.
What's interesting is that NVIDIA do make up 85% of the GPU market. However, if you look at all of the graphics cards that are on Steam, so everything that we've got there, the most common graphics card with 14% of the pie is the GTX 1060, which is the card that you've just picked up, BC. So it is really the sweet spot for performance and price. It's a reasonable price for a great amount of performance that will play all of the modern games at high settings at 1080p easily. Second most popular card is actually the GTX 750 Ti, which is 13% of the market. And third, I'm not going to go any more than the top three. So this is making up 40% of the graphics card market. It's the 1060, the 750 Ti, and then the 960 coming in with 12%. So 40% of the market, 1060, 750 Ti, and 960. So if you are using cards that are anywhere in there, you're in good company with 40% of the people on Steam. What do we think of that?
Wow.
I think it's awesome. And like, I think it definitely goes without saying, Briar had mentioned that guy had built that $40 PC to run Fortnite. It's great to have the cutting edge, nice, technology. Like, I don't have a 1080, I have a 1070 Beastly, you know what I mean? Which is just barely one step above, like not even really that much. But I can guarantee you, sometime this weekend when I was playing Fortnite out there was some guy on a rig that probably would cost you half as much as mine that shit all over me and my entire team. You know what I mean? Like, it's good to have the performance, and yeah, some people say, the more frames you can get out of it, the slight better of an edge you have, but like, you're still going to be out there competing with everyone else, like, no problem. Like,
that's great news. When I was talking to On Air PC on the phone, he because I'm not a PC guy, I don't know what these numbers and letters actually mean. I have to look them up, and I lack the patience. I explained to him that my laptop has a GTX 960M, and he said, well, you immediately drop like 25% performance by having the 960M for mobile. He said the regular 960 is much more powerful, and getting a PC with a PC GPU, they have to knock something away and give it the same name. So mine is less powerful. But yeah, man, I mean, when Gary told me that the majority of people are on 960s, I was thinking everybody was rocking 1070s. 1060s.
No.
Oh man. Oh.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, I'm not in that ecosystem. So, I mean, I'm thinking that, when you hear PC elitists or when you hear Gary talk, you think that everybody is we love you, Gary. We think that everybody's doing it like that.
AMD just released a new two new APUs, which APU is a CPU and a kind of a graphics card kind of built onto the CPU. They just released two of them. One is $100. Yeah, it's like $100. So you can build a PC that's maybe $500-$600, about the price of a console, but it's a PC that has this built in, and you'll be able to play Destiny, you'll be able to play Fortnite, you'll be able to play these games on this PC. And then what's cool about it is that you didn't spend any money on a graphics card. So if you do decide you want to upgrade it and buy a graphics card, you just slide that fucker right in. And boom, upgrade. It's such an easy upgrade.
That's the Ryzen, right, Briar? I was watching that too. Yeah. And that kind of caught me off guard big time because this little $100 APU is able to play most games at medium settings, and for PC, medium settings is PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah,
and that is really going to change the whole PC ecosystem, I think, for people who want the best of the best, or people who are spending $300, $400, $500 for mid-range GPUs. Now they can get something that's comparable for $100. That's going to competition's good.
I think it's worth. Sorry.
Go ahead, Gary.
I was going to say, I think it's worth as well mentioning that within the ecosystem of the PC, as BC rightly said there, medium is a great looking setting. Medium is, they should actually work on the terminology. I think medium should be standard. I think they should call medium standard so that you get a bit more consistency across it, because I know I'm guilty of it. If I turn my game to ultra or extreme and I'm not performing like at 144 frames, I'm like, this rig's trash. Like, what is this? Like, this is absolute garbage. But no, that's what I feel. It's just what you're conditioned to do. I don't know if Brian feels the same as a PC, but if I have to set my game to medium, I feel like, fuck, like this is going to look like ass. It won't. I think medium feels like a lot of the time where the game was designed to run at, and where they're benchmarking the game to look its best, and everything above that is more bells and whistles on top. So I think that people should stop trying to run their games at like ultra and very high, because a lot of the time it doesn't really translate to much more enjoyment of the game. There'll be a bit more shine on it, a few more reflections, more detail in your shadows. It's not really going to improve the game somewhat.
Laura Cross hair will move just.
A couple of the things I've been looking into doing for the YouTube channel is I'm really interested in doing kind of like a used PC, basically go out on eBay and go out on like sites like that and just buy used parts and try and build a Destiny capable PC or a Fortnite or a capable gaming PC for as little as possible, just to see like how low I can get that cost down and still be playing like Destiny at like 60 frames per second. I just thought it'd be like a fun activity to do and like kind of a fun video series to make. But God, like I feel like I also just want to make a PC with one of these APUs and maybe just give it to my father or my kids, just because, man, it's just such a cool value right now. Being able to just like have this PC game on it and then pop in a graphics card down the line and get this huge upgrade later down the line when you can afford it. It's just
that Ryzen APU Briar can play Fortnite and all these other games at like medium settings. Like if you turn up to ultra, you're gonna have issues. But from what I saw, Richard Ledbetter run through in that video was that this thing is pretty comparable to mid-range GPUs, and it's really mind blowing. Like now, my kids
not
are talking
mid-range,
about
but low end.
Low end, but it's able to play these games. It's able to play them.
It's able to play
settings.
Yeah.
And so like, go ahead, Gary.
I was going to say, creaming on through, because I think CPUs and RAM are not that interesting to talk about in terms of what people have got. It's just most people have got the Intels just because Intel have the lion's share of the market. But as we've said before, Ryzen, what AMD are doing with Ryzen is fantastic. So if you've got a CPU, the CPU is usually not the thing stopping you gaming. RAM's interesting in the sense that...
One thing, before you move off of CPUs, one thing is if you have an i7 CPU, you're ready to game on it. It doesn't matter which one it is. It's pretty much ready to go.
CPUs are nice. Like, and that's before you, and this is more of not a beginner's type thing. But once you get your CPU and all that stuff, they're very easy to overclock nowadays. That's become a long way. You used to have to go into your motherboard BIOS settings, do a little bit of math, and nowadays when you change voltage, it'll automatically change other what's the word I'm looking for, values automatically.
Yeah, no, but we don't use that with them. No.
What are you talking about?
You just, those settings are no good. You want to stay away from those. You want to put those settings in by yourself.
This used to be Briar's job.
You get it as otherwise the onboard settings, the settings that they have on the automatic settings are just going to put too much voltage into your chip.
Okay.
And too much heat. You're fucking yourself by doing that. It's better to do a little. It's better to do an hour worth of research and figure out how to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said the i7 processors, Briar.
Yeah.
As long as you have one, you should be good to go as far as gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what-
100%.
This laptop has that. It's an i7 6700, and
How many gigahertz?
2.6 up to 2.6 up to 3.2.
Yeah,
So
it's a
it depends on how
3.2
many
with turbo
cores.
boost, so it'll be 3.2 most of the time, which is what most of the people have. The thing with your laptop that will be letting it down is the M on the graphics card. We don't want to get too techie on this because this can get really dull. But like you say, the M cards, they downclock the card because of cooling. You can't cool the card properly. When it's under stress in the laptop's frame, you think of all the space you've got in a case on a graphics card, the card can cool at a higher clock. Putting it into console terminology, it's the reason that a Switch runs at a higher clock speed when it's docked, because the cooling, it can just run at a higher clock speed to cool itself down. It's the same with your graphics card. But yeah, I mean, your laptop would have been fine to game on. Getting a new PC, you'll definitely get a better experience for sure. But that's not
I'm
to say you
excited
couldn't
about
have
it,
gamed on
Gary.
what you got. RAM, we were just speaking about, saying most people are still on 8 gig of RAM. Second highest people are on 12 gig of RAM. 16 gig is still the minority, with only 14% of people using it. Where I wanted to dwell on was resolution, because we were talking, BC, about what you were planning to game on and what Briar games on, what Wilson games on. In fact, I think I'm the only one who doesn't game on this. 1080p is still the king of resolutions. That's 76.4% of users play at 1080p, which is crazy. You know, I play at 1440p, which is one step above 1080. I'm in company of 3.4% of gamers. What I think is really, really interesting is 4K. So you spoke about 4K. 4K has been banded around. Briar said around, the fact that 4K monitors exist at 60 hertz. There seems to be a big buzz. Consoles are pushing 4K as if every fucker wants to have it and every home needs to have 4K and every game has to be in 4K. Steam users, 0.49% of Steam users are playing on a 4K monitor. So 0.5% of PC users are playing on 4K. Is that surprising to you?
No.
No, not at all. Like, it's always 4K is so young right now, and there's a lot of people that enjoy being early adopters or whatever. And I'm sure maybe however many years from now, we'll be talking about 4K being a lot more stable, a lot more. You're seeing it more places on more TVs, more support in games and whatnot. But right now, it's just too early. Like 4K is just, I don't know. It's cool, but
the computers aren't powerful enough to really run high. Even my computer struggles to run things at 4K. I have a 4K monitor hooked up to it. It's just I use it for like a second monitor. And I don't use it for gaming. And I have just to check it out. Like I'll play The Witcher 3 in 4K, and it looks stunning when it's sitting still. It's unbelievably good looking until it starts moving, and it's rocking anywhere from 35 to 55 frames per second.
Okay, wow.
And it's super variable, which makes it even worse than just like locking it at 30 frames per second.
It's jarring.
Yeah, it's no good. There's
How
a
much
few
RAM
games
do
that
you
I can
have,
run at 4K. 16 gigabytes of 3600 megahertz RAM.
it's too much fidelity for frame rate. You know what I mean? Like the higher fidelity,
Yeah, even
and
at
the more.
1080 Ti, I can't really handle it.
Yeah.
And even if you could run it at 60, you're still only running games at 60. And that's the issue, is that once you've played above that, the 60 hertz, I would rather sacrifice resolution. Even if my 1080 Ti could give me above 60 consistently, I still wouldn't play at 60 hertz.
Well, the panel can't even do above 60, so it's I do play downstairs. I have another PC downstairs that I play. That's hooked up to a 4K TV, but what I do is I set the resolution that the game is actually rendering to be, 50% of that. So it's kind of running at like 1440p. Almost like a PlayStation game that, it says it's running 1080p, but it's really rendering out at like 720p or something like that. So I do that on my 4K TV. So all the overlay is all 4K, but the actual game is running at much less than that.
Wow.
And that's just to keep it running at 60 consistently.
I just thought it was an interesting stat to look at because if you go into a GameStop or you watch a PlayStation conference or an Xbox conference, every game is like 4K enhanced, 4K this. Everyone's pushing 4K. You really want to have the 4K console, the 4K home. And then you look at PC, which, again, you'd think this has got the grunt to run 4K, obviously with caveats. And then only 0.5% of people are bothering.
Right.
It seems weird that there's a discrepancy between what you're seeing in the console market, as some people are saying in chat, and then what the PC market's doing.
Well, Sony makes TVs too, so it's in their best interest to make
that's in the comments.
A gaming system that could run 4K to sell the 4K TVs, which aren't selling as well as a lot of them thought. I don't know if you guys have gotten a 4K TV, but bringing a 4K TV in the home is not nearly the same jump up that it was the first time you brought a 1080p TV home.
You got that right.
It's like you bring a 1080p TV home. Like when you first got like a flat panel TV and like maybe it was plasma, maybe it was LCD. It was like, oh my God, it's like having a window in my house.
Yeah. I remember that.
Stuff would look so real, look fake.
4K is certainly a higher resolution. There's some more detail there, but it's not nearly the jump that 1080p was. On a computer monitor where you're sitting closer to it, you definitely could see more of that detail. But for my money, I mean, I bought a lot of monitors, and I selected the 240 hertz monitor because higher frame rates was just, it just was what I liked best. Looking at them.
I'm looking at 240 hertz monitors now.
Man, I think 100 with the graphics card you've got. I think 144 will be your sweet deal. I'm going to skip over a couple of other areas because I'm conscious that we're running on time. VR, I thought, was an interesting one. Looking at the HTC Vive and the Rift, which are the only two, obviously, that are available on PC or on Steam. They make up, Rift is 0.14% of users and Vive is 0.13% of users. So put us together, Brian, we're still a 0.25% of the PC market with what we've got.
It just needs more time. We've talked about that before. Like
I'm just interested to know what it is.
What's crazy is how well the PlayStation VR is selling compared to those. It's like
that price though, man, and everybody's already got a PlayStation. You know what I mean? And you get
and they
VR
just dropped
for
the price to
PC
$200, Wilson.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. We talked about how easy it is to set up PlayStation VR versus on PC. You know what I mean? Some people, man, when you have to set anything up yourself, like even if it's just plug in a USB or something, so many people are turned off right away from it. So I mean, just the ease of access with PlayStation VR, I think, is what's making it very successful.
I see Will in chat right now. He's downloading Witcher 3. I feel like I need a bell in my house, like on my desk, that every time somebody new downloads The Witcher 3, I just want to ring the fucking bell, like ding.
Let me just say, I haven't been playing any.
Congratulations,
games,
you just bought the best game of all time.
I
Not a sponsor yet.
I haven't played The Witcher in probably 10 to 12 days.
Yeah.
But that's because I haven't played anything. I've been really, really, really busy. I went to Waffle House a couple of nights ago, and that's the only reason I took Skyrim out of its cellophane wrap to put it in my Switch just to see what it looked like. So I played that for 10 minutes, came home, ate, and went to sleep. I haven't played it since. It's really amazing to see that.
I'm sorry. Can you just that sequence of events kind of confused me a little bit. You went to Waffle House,
yes,
played Skyrim,
yes,
then came home and ate, and then went to bed.
Yes.
What were you doing at the Waffle House? You went there to play Skyrim for the authentic experience.
I was up. You got to be here to understand it.
As the
It's like
Norsemen
the local
used to.
Starbucks. There's people hanging out there with their laptops.
There's literally
Wi-Fi.
If I go up the street from my house to the
Waffle
main
House
road,
is the Starbucks of Atlanta. Fantastic.
if I go to the main road here outside and go
Guy
up
in the
street,
corner writing his novel.
directly across the street to Waffle House, it was 3:34 in the morning. Kate and I just got done pressing a big load of shirts. Pressing a load, and I said, I said, I'm hungry, man. And she was like, I am too. And I was like, shit, what's open? Waffle House. And so I was getting ready to walk out the door, and I was super bored because I was just pressing shirts all night.
Yeah.
And I looked and I saw my Switch sitting in front of the TV. I was like, remember me? I was like, I do remember you. And so I went and grabbed Skyrim, opened it up, slammed it in there, went up there because they wouldn't answer the fucking phones, placed my order, played Skyrim, got my order, went home, put my Switch back on the dock.
Oh, okay. I get it now.
Yeah.
You brought the food home from... Okay. That's the part I was missing, Beasley. I didn't realize that.
People, Waffle House does have takeout orders. Briar.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That's great. I like Will's description better. Hey, babe, Waffle House, Skyrim, and chill.
Yes.
I've been to the Waffle House twice during my time in the States, and both times it was interesting, an interesting insight. It was like a cross-section of rural America.
It's the most hood place. Look, I sent Kate a text. I was in there for 10 minutes playing Skyrim, and she asked me had I ordered, what was the status of the order. I said, these bitches ain't even greeted me yet. I came in there, I stood, at the bar, and Shaniqua and Twan were talking back and forth, and then Tay came from the back, and they were just going off.
Tay was there? Did you say?
Yeah.
Did you tell him I say hi?
And Ashika Shay came from over this side, and they were just talking shit. And I was like, wow, no, I'm looking at all these people like no one's going to even say hello.
Maybe they were talking shit, but maybe they were saying, "Look at this motherfucker playing Skyrim." Just in here.
I didn't even know they made that shit for Switch, man.
Is he on a quest?
I'm frankly impressed that you got Tay away from writing the second verse of the mixtape to serve you. That was impressive.
And she asked me, she's like, "What's going on?" I said, "These hood ass chicks they haven't even greeted me yet." So I stood at the bar next to some lady who was just looking at everybody, and then I waited, and they were telling stories back and forth, yelling hash brown orders, smothered covered brother. And so I was like, they're not going to say anything to me. I guess I'll go sit down. So I went and sat, and then I waited, and the lady who came to me had a fucking attitude. What you want? I was like, oh, how are you doing tonight? I like the place to go order. And she didn't say anything nice. She went and took my order, and I played Skyrim, and I got the hell out of there. Last time I'm going to that Waffle House. They fucking suck.
You should have said, bitch,
I placed my order, I played Skyrim, and I got the fuck out of there.
That's how you got to do it, in that order.
Didn't even have time to fuss road dar. It was ridiculous. In conclusion to our Steam hardware summary, if you have, this is the average basic bitch PC. If you've got this, you are above the curve. GPU is a GTX 1060. Your CPU is a quad core or above, clocked at 3 gigahertz to 3.3. You've got at least 8 gig of RAM, a 1 terabyte hard drive, and you're running at least Windows 7 64-bit. You are G2G. You are DTF.
Wow,
you are welcome in this podcast.
I got 16 gigs
you are welcome in this podcast.
That's it.
You went there.
If you're not, you got to up your game. You're under the average.
All right, what's our next topic? What time is it? Jesus Christ.
It's 8 o'clock.
We're taking our time, but we're getting there. It's just like me and lovemaking. We are now onto, right, you've got your amazing or average PC build. What the hell are you going to do with it? And I know what me and Briar have been doing with our average PCs. We have been playing the Hunt Showdown, and it is fucking great.
It is
Briar,
fucking
tell
good,
the people
man.
what the Hunt Showdown is and why they should care.
I'm so excited to hear this.
I've only seen you guys play a little bit of this game, okay? Yeah. And part of it, I was only listening to you guys play the game because I was driving.
Mm-hmm.
So the basics that I'm getting out of this is that it has a wild West feel with
it's like early 1900s. Early 1900s.
Monsters and aliens? Is it monsters or aliens?
No, monsters. Zombies. It's like zombies kind of thing.
Okay.
So,
and there's survival, there's looting, like it's survival in a sense that like don't fucking die. There's not like food or water or anything like that, correct?
Right.
All right. So there's looting, there's finding things like ammo.
There's no real looting right now. I mean, yeah, you got to find ammo, you got to find health kits if you need them. They are going to add a crafting system to the game. That's in one of their developer updates or one of their. They have like a roadmap on their website of like the next 3 updates that they're planning to add into the game, which is pretty cool.
Okay, so you and Gary load into a game. Walk me through it. What's up?
Okay,
What's going down?
We load into a game, and our mission is either A, kill the butcher or kill the spider. There's currently 2 bosses that are available for contracts right now. You accept a contract, and you go in, and that's your contract. However, there's 10 people on the map that loaded in with you. And it's a PvE and a PvP game all at once. So there's zombies running around who want to kill you. There's other hunters running around who want to kill you. And everybody's basically got the same objective, is to get in there, kill the butcher. What's it called when you have to kind of like exercise the butcher?
Banish them.
You got to banish him, which takes, I don't know, is it about a minute?
Probably about a minute. You got to send his soul back to hell.
Yeah, you got to send his soul back to hell. When you banish him, everybody on the map is alerted to your exact location and to what you were doing. And then once you banish him, he drops a couple of tokens. I don't know exactly what they're called. And you've got to extract your hunter from the map by going to specified points around the map and getting out safely. So what's cool is that there's two kinds of progression in this game. There's your player progression, which you are constantly leveling up your EXP, and you get access to new weapons, you get access to new items that you can use, but you also can level up your hunter. You can upgrade his health, you can upgrade his abilities, you can give him more items to use. But if your hunter dies on a hunt, he's dead. You can never use him again. You have to recruit new hunters.
What? Permadeath. That's fucking. I was just gonna say, what is the risk reward? Holy shit! It sounds like there's way more risk than reward. That sounds. I mean, not in a bad way, but like you really have to weigh your options of.
Oh, for sure.
It's not like PUBG where I'm like, I'm gonna fucking jump off this roof and do a 180 shotgun just because I want to, or just because my partner's dead. You have to legitimately be like, if I want to use this character again, that's fucking genius.
Every time you recruit a new hunter as well, they come with random perks. So one guy might have twice as much health as another guy. You might have different weapons. So you might have like a repeater rifle, a shotgun, a revolver. Who knows what you're gonna spawn in with?
Ooh, yeah. The best weapon.
There's a lot of weapons. Alert. The game is the way it plays is it's a slower paced game, but it feels very tense because of it. Like you're not running around like at Mach 3 like a Call of Duty or a Destiny. But it doesn't feel bad either. It feels methodic.
The weapon handling feels fast, so your movement feels slower. It feels more accurate to real life, but the weapon handling still feels fast, which makes it feel great to play.
Yeah.
So like terrain has an effect on your, like if you're in a swamp.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if you're in deep water, like waist high water, you can only go about half as fast as you can in ankle high water. And then when you're on dry land, you can go a little bit faster even then. Also, if you have brass knuckles on, you walk a little faster than when you're carrying a long rifle. It's a really interesting game. It's very fun, and the tension. So, for instance, me and Gary played, I don't know, 5 or 6 games today, Gary?
I think we were playing for like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
How long do the games last?
They can last anywhere from 10 minutes to, I don't know, feel like over 45 minutes or so. But a lot of the time, you never actually go and try and kill the butcher. A lot of the times, you might get in a fight with some other hunters and lose enough health that you decide, you know what, it's not worth me continuing. I'd like to make this hunter live for another hunt. I'd like to upgrade my hunter, so you extract early. And you get out of there early. So it's very much, you get connected to the characters. The characters are all kind of unique.
I like that.
They all come with like randomly assigned names. My favorite one Gary got the other day, his name was Horst Fucks.
That's perfect. Really? There's been so many horse shenanigans, not those kind of shenanigans. But
I actually got really attached to Luke Smith before he died.
Yeah, he had a Luke Smith character. Like no shit, it was called Luke Smith.
Any word on a Willie Henderson floating around out there?
We had a Henderson actually.
That's gonna be my GTA RP name. I applied to a bunch
Willie
of
Henderson?
Role play service. I got a couple names. McTriggerson is another one. He gets triggered all the time. He's super pissed. But yeah, so that's really cool that they assign the random names. Let's talk unlocks. What kind of unlocks do we got? Cosmetics, in-game equipment, weapons.
Right now? It's mostly equipment and weapons. They are planning on adding more to the game. Obviously, this is an early access. So very little of the game is available right now. But what you get is you have a list of, I want to say it's 20-ish two-handed weapons, another 10-ish or so one-handed weapons. Then there's things like health kits and traps and vitality shots, and they all do different things, and they all have, there's even like a 4-shot Derringer that you can unlock, and there's all sorts of stuff like that.
Now for I've seen this this game once, right before, I guess it was like during the reveal, they did like a 4-hour stream of it. And the graphic style, I don't know. It reminds me of PUBG meets Bloodborne almost.
It reminds me of Resident Evil 7.
It
Like
looks
big
like
time.
a better Resident Evil 7. A
Yeah.
lot like it. It's set in the Louisiana swamps as well, which helps.
Is the game all third person, or is there a first person mode
It's
at all?
only first person.
Okay, it's only first person.
Immersive.
Yeah, it's all first person.
That.
It's built on the Crytek engine, or the Cry engine by Crytek. It looks really nice. It doesn't run super good right now, but it is in early access. And me and Gary have had several crashes while we've been trying to play this game. Several. In fact, on Friday we tried to play, and the servers just went down. Like, we couldn't play at all.
Say they're constantly taking it down for a little bit and doing maintenance, but you guys were back up in what, an hour?
Yeah,
I
more or
think
less.
it's worth noting that I mean, early access is an easy sticker to put on things, but what I would say, if you buy a game in early access, you have to go into it with the mindset that you are a supporter of the developers. You're paying for a game that has not passed the quality assurance to be released. They're acknowledging that the quality of the game is going to be poor. I think where you can be disenfranchised or make critique as a early adopter or an early access supporter is if the developers are doing two things. One, being non-communicative, and two, not updating their game, which neither of the two Crytek are doing.
No.
They're very supportive. So if the game has stability issues or performance issues, honestly, tough. You are paying to support the game while it works those out.
Tell that to DayZ fans.
Oh, DayZ. Yeah,
one more thing I'd like to talk about in this game is the sound design of this game. It might be one of my favorite I've ever heard in a game. There's like just the ambiance of walking around is pretty good, and the sounds of the guns is really good. But the way they've set it up is that there are kind of triggers all over the place. Like if you walk past a murder of crows, they'll fly off and make a whole bunch of noise. If you walk past a bunch of dogs, they'll start barking and yelping at you. If you walk by a horse,
this game is crazy.
If you walk by a horse, it'll start like neighing and making a lot of noise. Well, you can hear that from a good distance away, and you can use it to locate enemy teams. So all of a sudden, you might hear like a flock of birds from a ways away, and you can look up into the sky, and you can see that flock of birds going up, and then you can use that information that you just learned to find that enemy team. Obviously, if you're running around shooting zombies like crazy, other people are going to be attracted to you shooting all the time. They're going to know exactly where you are, so it pays actually to run around with brass knuckles and just be punching the zombies, or with a knife and just be knifing the zombies. It keeps you off the map a lot better.
I remember back years ago when you were playing a different game other than Destiny, you used to sound whore a lot.
Oh, I sound whore the shit out of this game, man.
Briar's a beast in this game. He's actually like every time I've gone in with Briar, he's like killed teams on his own. I'm normally laying dead in the bushes, and he's off sound whoring and killing other teams.
He's sound whores. He knows it. He's an OG sound horror expert. He's like, oh wait, did I hear someone fart over there?
He's that guy that. Did you hear that? Never mind. Keep moving. It was a mile away.
Yeah, I mean, the game. I mean, for people that want a really crude analogy of it, you might have played The Division. It very, very similar in concept to The Division's Dark Zone, where you go in and you're killing PvE enemies, but then there's a PvP component. People might want to come and spoil your day and take all your goodies from you. And that's what they're trying to do here. They've created a game where it's a compelling zombie hunting game set in the swamps, but everyone else can kill you at the same time. You know, and it's, I mean, to me, it's a beastly gamer game. It looks, every time we've played it, we've said this is a beastly game.
So I got an important question, and it was actually asked in chat by Conman. If you disconnect from a game, not if you quit,
you lose your character.
I'm sure there's ways for them to detect that you physically went to the menu and left the game nowadays.
It's like 50-50, Wilson. Sometimes when we've disconnected, we've gotten our character back. Sometimes we haven't. Actually, Gary, I think like 3 days later, got his character back that we had disconnected. He got Luke Smith back. Luke Smith had a legitimate death, I think.
Wasn't that story told in the Bible? Like a couple days later, he rose again. Like what?
I mean, in all honesty, it's not the end of the world unless you have really invested in the characters, because you've got two, like Brian said, there's two progression trees. So you level up as an account, and then the individuals that you recruit. Think of yourselves as like a bounty hunter agency, and you've got agents working for you, these recruits, these hunters. And you can have multiple characters. So I might have 3 or 4 characters going for me, and there's one that I always play super safe with. You know, I never push it too far. I kill a few zombies and I bring him out. He's my homeboy, you know, he's my my basic bitch. But then I've got these other guys who I run a little roughshod with, and these guys I don't mind, you know, trying out and seeing if I push hard and if they die or not. If you lose a character, you lose a bit of progress, you lose a bit of money, but it's quick enough to gear someone else back up. There's enough risk that you're fearful of losing it, but it's not enough that you think, fuck it, I'm never going to play this game again. You know,
so it's not like
it's not months of work. It's hours of work to get a character.
Okay,
going.
so it would be equivalent to dying in Dark Souls and maybe not getting all your souls back or something.
Yeah,
it sucks, but it's not the fucking end of the world unless that's what you were doing during.
So you might have like a hunter that has like a a sniper rifle on him and a 6-shooter, and you're like, yeah, this is actually a really good hunter. I want to go out and hunt hunters build because you'll be able to do damage at long range, and like if they if they don't see you, you'll be able to snipe them. But you might have a hunter that has a shotgun primary double.
You can't change your weapons or find new weapons in the world?
You can. But you got to buy them. You got to buy them.
Okay, so you use your in-game points to buy these weapons.
So you might have another hunter
that's a new character.
It's all about shotguns and like the different like the butcher and the spider, which are the 2 bosses they have in now, have different. They're susceptible to different kinds of damage, and they tell you what each weapon does in its kind of menu. So the butcher is more susceptible to rending damage and shotguns and explosions, while the spider is more about piercing damage and like that kind of thing. So different weapons have different effects on different things.
Yeah, because
today I was running around with a shotgun, a double-barrel shotgun, and I was wrecking fools, but I had to get right up close to him, right? So I'm like, Gary's like kind of plinking at him from a distance. I'm like, okay, Gary, I'm running like from tree to tree, like trying to get fucking close enough to shotgun him.
There was environmental damage with explosive barrels and stuff. That's actually how you took down the butcher one time the other day.
What I'll say is the engagements feel much more realistic than almost any other game I've ever played.
Even PUBG?
By far much more realistic than those sorts of things. It feels to me, the way it plays, the way you approach an engagement, the way that you shoot each other, the shootouts as they happen, feel like an old West shootout in the swamps. There's not this, like Wilson said, jumping off buildings and trying to shoot people. It's very much, they've seen us, we've seen them. Get behind a tree trunk, pop up and take pot shots. Get up, get a quick shot, aim, and try to shoot it and move in. And also, it's very realistic in the sense that you don't get an immediate, you killed this player. You'll just shoot. You'll see a little reticle flash that your shot's connected. You don't know if he's dead, wounded, down forever, if he's got a teammate near him. So you have to go and look for the body, because the bodies are persistent and stay for the whole game. So you have to go and confirm the kill and check that the body's there and that he's definitely dead. Like several times, Briar and I have gone and said, fuck, I hit him. I definitely hit him at 2:30. And then we've got to carefully move up through the bushes to then see if we can find the body to make sure they're dead, and then look to see if their teammate is hiding in the bushes waiting for us to move up, because we don't know.
Is there VoIP, in-game VoIP?
Yes.
So I love that.
I was playing solo the other night, and I ran up against a team, and we're in the same building. And I could hear their entire conversation that they were having because there's proximity chat. And oh my God, I was laughing my ass off because they're like, this motherfucker just shot me. It's being an asshole. Well, let's go fuck him up. And oh my God, it was hilarious. It was really hilarious.
So we could role play this and
with
other groups of people.
Think about it,
because you get one question.
You get a character with a name, and that's it. You can role play the shit out of that guy, right?
Dude, the name is the most important part of the role play. That's how you develop the character, the sense of what kind of personality they're gonna have. Oh man, we could have a lot of fun with that once they introduce squads. So that's another thing. It's
how many people can play together on a team?
It's 2-player right now. Yeah, and they're introducing squads.
Yeah,
so
they haven't told us when.
we had kind of talked about this a little bit before the podcast, and I told him we should probably save this. How hard would it be for Beastly to grab hosts, me team up with him, Briar to grab hosts, you team up with him, and me and Beastly, quote unquote, stream snipe you guys?
I don't know how hard it would be. I don't. You know, there's
it's
10,000.
been
I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but I've been grabbing hoes for a long time. What does that got to do with the game?
So, no, Beastly, basically what I'm saying is when they queue up for a game, how easy would it be for us to get into the same lobby? Because it's only 2-player right now. So it'd be me and you on a different team and Gary and Briar on a different team. So theoretically, I'm asking how easy could it be for us to get on the same instance?
Oh, that would be
team
so
up,
fucked up.
or Beastly, just shoot him in the back. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Treat him like a
I'll
squirrel.
get Briar,
Man.
you get Gary. I know you've been wanting to shoot Gary.
I mean, the game itself though is like super satisfying to play. The gameplay loop, the progression that you have, the fact that your progression is separated from the character. There's 2 tiers of progression, so if you do die, you don't feel like all your work's lost. The way that the combat plays, the way that the game performs in terms of the way it feels, the actual movement of your character. There's nothing at the moment with this game that is turning me off from just
I got a
playing
question,
it more.
Gary. I gotta call you out.
Go for it.
Now, I know that you guys have been big fans of PUBG for a long time, to a much higher degree than any other Battle Royale game, Fortnite and whatnot. This game, it seems to be scratching that itch. Is it because it's newer, or because of the dynamic of you actually having these characters that mean something, that you could actually lose the character forever? Is this game on the same level as PUBG to you, or is it just because it's new and it's in the early?
It's so different, Beasley.
Really?
Yeah, this to me is much more satisfying than PUBG, and for a different reason.
Briar, do you agree with that?
It's so different, Beasley. To me
Almost
right now.
Okay.
You got PvE missions, man. You got enemies. It's so different, like
it's like a marriage of all the good shit. Fortnite does have PvE mode. This marries
but it's
that.
not a combination of the two.
Yeah, I'm saying this is like a marriage of all that stuff, but also giving you characters that are meaningful. You don't want to lose something losing something forever really hurts. It doesn't matter what it is. Just ask your wife whenever you do a garage sale. She'll tell you that it doesn't matter if she hasn't worn those shoes in 5 years. The fact that they're gone forever hurts. And it's kind of the same way with a character, especially one with a special name.
It's usually me, though, at the garage sale. I'm like, I need my Scooby-Doo lunchbox and thermos.
You better
Okay?
sell that shit.
I may have a similar Captain Planet one, okay, next to the Ninja Turtle one. Okay.
Oh, you're the man.
These are OG with the thermos. I'm horrible at garage sales, but yeah, it's a completely different game. Basically, like PUBG is more of your, there's 100 players, high octane, people dropping in, all this different stuff. How many people can be in the lobby for this, Briar?
10.
10.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
10. Oh, wow, it's a completely
5
different kind of
teams.
game. Wow.
Yeah. So
how big is the map?
Quite big, large enough.
yeah, it's not
In
huge.
comparison to like a PUBG, is it?
I don't know, like
20%?
military? Is it the size of military?
yeah,
island?
maybe the size of a military island, like the whole island.
Okay. Oh, that works.
It actually, basically, to me, more reminds me of a multiplayer game of The Last of Us, which I know would appeal to you there. That's the kind of pathos
You
that
dissed me earlier, but you just
that's the pace of play.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
it is
that's a
very
good
much-
description.
Right.
Yeah, it's imagine if you had to kill a bloater in The Last of Us, and there were also 8 other players on that map. So you were trying to kill that guy, but
That'd
there
be
were
like
other players.
a raw egg orgasm.
So it's that feel. Like to me, it feels much more like I'm nervous to make a sound. I don't want to give my position away. I need to engage this guy, but if I do this, then I'm going to be at a disadvantage.
Man, priorities. Oh man,
But-
that's gonna be awesome.
It's an amazing title. I mean, as I said,
I was
if
going
you
to buy
play
it the day that you shared it with us privately on Twitter, but I haven't played anything. So I'm definitely going to do it. I think I want to grab it as soon as my new PC comes. That'll be the first game I play.
Before we move on, last point on it as well, I'd also talk about the fact that these early access games live or die by their population. and their player numbers. And I've been aggressively monitoring the Steam charts for it to see how many people are playing this on a day-to-day basis. And it generally fluctuates between the 5,000 concurrent players on an American off-peak to around 10,000. Today it exceeded 10,000 again, concurrent players. Now, this isn't daily players, and I know Destiny players might see this as low figures. Actually, this puts it in the top 20 for Steam. It's quite a significant amount for a game that only released on the 23rd. And it actually hit its peak numbers today in terms of the amount of players that it had. So 10,000 people playing at one given time is a pretty significant matchmaking pool. So there's popularity there. You're not going to struggle to find a game.
Lawbreakers, but
exactly. It's
or
not,
Destiny.
It's not quite as popular as Destiny 2 or Lawbreakers, but it's working hard. In comparison with if we're going to talk Destiny 2 for trials, there were around 5,000 people that played trials over a 48-hour period, and there were 10,000 people playing simultaneously on the hunt this afternoon. So 48 hours, 5,000. We're not saying it's shit all over it, but what I'm saying is that I wouldn't be concerned about population. I'd say get in there and support it. You will find people to play with. You will find people to have a good time with.
Yeah, there is matchmaking.
You have to support it, warts and all, at the moment.
Yeah, well, this is a definite. I'm super excited. I had a topic that we didn't choose. Mr. Wilson picked the topics. I think he picked the best ones. But one of them was, since I'm getting this new desktop, what games would you guys recommend that I try, just so I could see the difference of the power of an actual gaming PC versus my PS4 Pro or any of the Xboxes or anything that I have. This sounds like I know it's not optimized for PC, but it sounds like hella fun. It sounds really awesome. And so this will probably I'll try to make this the very first game I play.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd do that.
I mean,
game.
Yeah, I would go for a game that you might be familiar with. I would actually, you know what I would do, BC, is I would either get Destiny 2 or Fortnite. Something you're already familiar with, but you could just get to see the jump in power, for your own eyes, like right off the bat. Destiny 2, you could play the demo of. You don't even have to pay for it. You just get to see that game run at a high frame rate. It makes such a big difference, man. It makes such a big difference for Destiny 2.
Battle Royale is free.
Yeah, Battle Royale is free.
Briar, Destiny 2 on this laptop blew my mind.
Yeah.
I'd say it might be a pretty good investment, actually, is to look at EA Access, because that's like what, $20 is it for a year, and that gives you Titanfall 2, Battlefield 1, a load of other pretty good, Mass Effect Andromeda, like a lot of games that I'd consider good demonstrations of what a PC does for like $20 for a year.
I always log into my Steam account and try some stuff up too.
This game that we've been talking about it's in early access. Like if I see 80 frames per second, I'm like, okay, that's pretty damn good for now.
Yeah.
And we're running the best possible card you could ever have.
It looks really nice, but it's running at a pretty slow frame rate.
I don't know.
Hopefully.
I've not scaled this. I could try it out on my PC and let you know. But yeah, we're not saying that this game is optimized or stable. We're saying that this game is great fun and something you should try out.
Sounds like sex.
It deserves the early access moniker, man. It is like we've had multiple crashes, we've had multiple server disconnects, which is super frustrating. Like you're right about to extract and you get a server disconnect and you lose your character. That's frustrating.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, hopefully they work that stuff out. I'm sure they will.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Yeah. I'm sure once players express their opinion about that particular problem, they'll rectify it.
It's just kind of jarring to me, kind of crazy, in fact, that a game as big as Destiny on PC, a full-fledged game with a multiplayer component, single-player component, gets shat on by an early access game. And these early access games are just...
They're not even similar in any way. I guess you shoot guns in both of them.
Yeah, like that happens when a new game comes out, basically, and PC
and people start streaming it.
Well, PC's always going to have one of the smaller populations, unless it's an exclusive. You know what I mean? Like, there's always a case that it's going to have the smaller population by default. And you add something like Destiny 2, this could be arguable. It's not necessarily that it's a bad game, in my opinion. There's just there's no incentive right now. You know what I mean?
And so it's not just the hunt that's doing this as well. Let's be Steam's such a broad install base of games that you can possibly play. I mean, if you look at the Steam charts now, just picking some names off the things that are in the top 20, you've got things like, there's 37,000 people currently playing Football Manager 2018. It's not an indication that it's better than Destiny. It's just there's more people playing it. Fallout 4 has 25,000 people playing it right now. That's more people than are playing Destiny's PvP. Does it make it a better game? No, it's just what people are doing.
Apples and oranges. Kind of.
47,000 people playing Payday 2.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, this is crazy.
And then there's 400,000 people on PUBG. It is what it is.
PUBG, 412,000 people.
We don't really get the numbers for Destiny 2 either. So we get, like, everybody likes to bring up, like, this, how many people are streaming Steam and how many people are watching Destiny 2, but we don't get, like, a direct comparison. Like, the amount of people playing Destiny 2 is a lot different than the amount of people streaming or watching Destiny 2.
Yeah, I mean, the closest thing we've got is Destiny Tracker, which is a third-party site, and that records all logins over a 24-hour period. This is not concurrent, so what we see on Steam is concurrency playing right now. What we see on Destiny Tracker is a 24-hour log. Again, it's even apples to oranges on that respect. We're not fortunate enough to have the login stats for Destiny. So it's difficult to tell how many people are playing it. Trials report gives us an accurate amount of how many people have played Trials. So that's one game mode in the game, not how many people have played the game. Some people might log in to do a patrol and log off. They won't be picked up.
Well, it leaves me with somewhat of a transition sort of into our next topic about there is something with certain games that keeps a concurrent player base. There are certain qualities to a game that make people want to log in and continue to play it. Or in other cases, what are some of the qualities of the games that make it addictive? You know what I mean? Where when you're at work, you find yourself kind of in a little free moment, 5 minutes, and you start thinking about, a couple of the matches that you had last night, or Briar Rabbit coming in and just no scoping the shit out of everyone, or, and just laughing and having a damn good time. So what is it about certain games that just grab your attention and never seem to let it go? And like, I'll start off right off the bat, and I think it's the most obvious and easy answer to this is if my friends and I are laughing, having a damn good time, and the game doesn't even necessarily need to be the most fun game. As long as we are having fun doing it, laughing, having a good time, dude, you got to pry me away from the keyboard or the controller. Like, friendly laughter is contagious. You know what I mean? When you guys are laughing and having a good time and something funny happens, I go to throw a grenade and, it goes 2 feet on the ground and rolls back and blows me up, like you see some people, they get pissed or whatever, but if Briar threw a grenade and it rolled back down the hill and blew us all up, dude, he's
gonna fucking laugh his ass.
We are just gonna laugh our ass off. I mean, like as annoying as it can be when we're circling a compound and we know there's at least 3 guys in there and Gary Diaz is cruising around the complex on his motorbike in PUBG, alerting everyone to our presence. Sure, it could be a little annoying by some standards, but at the end of the day, it's like you're there to have fun. And Gary cruising around the complex on his motorbike in PUBG is fucking hilarious. I'm sorry.
It sounds like a lot of fun. For me, this whole something that makes a game kind of addicting for me. I got to agree with you there. I mean, it harkens back to when we were playing Sea of Thieves, Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
When we played Sea of Thieves, that was pure unadulterated fun. I think I could have stayed in that moment forever. I felt like if that game never ended and I could just turn back and look and see my kids at like 18 at some point, but turn back to the monitor and continue to play, that feeling of being with people who and you enjoy their company and you're lollygagging and you're just, the competition, of course, to me is a big deal. I like to win. I like to go against other people who think they're good and win. And when you're lucky enough to be with a group of guys like you, and you have a competitive streak and a competitive nature about yourself, everything kind of falls into place. We are the hosts of Revolver Live, so we fuck around and we play and we do these kind of things anyway. But to actually be in a game and see how things can fumble, like the way they do in Destiny 2 when you're running a raid with Briar, and something that's not supposed to happen accidentally happens when he has the controller in his hand and he shoots at enemies that are going to kill you. And all you hear is his wonderful laugh.
An axe.
Wonderful laugh.
Oh, at the beginning of the raid where he throws a grenade at all the guards at the very beginning?
Yeah, he'll shoot. No,
Yeah.
This is what Briar does.
Yeah,
And
he
Kate,
invented
she was the one who kind of
World's
hit me
first.
to his game. She said, if you're playing the raid with Briar in Destiny 2, you got to make it there before he does because he's the fastest one. He'll get all the way up to the front of the line. And while everybody's kind of la, 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 jumping down, skipping down the road, he'll shoot at the enemies and destroy the team. And he'll just cackle to the top of the mountain. And so
It's true.
those kind of things are really, really amazing to have. And to me, those kind of experiences with you guys. But there are also experiences that don't involve your friends. You guys don't play The Last of Us. And to me, that's a very vibrant and live community. We don't talk about it here, but The Last of Us Factions, The Last of Us multiplayer mode is very much alive. People are constantly playing that game. And to me, one of the things that make it so addicting, I mean, I played a couple of matches this week, in the middle of doing shirts. I played 2 or 3 matches. I cut my kid's hair today and played 1 match. Is the intricacy of it's kind of like video game chess. There's so many different variables that can go into a game. Very seldom, like Call of Duty, you can just shoot someone, you throw a grenade, and it's over. Planning things out, when to push forward, when to move back, what you make on the fly. Very few games give you that option, barring some of the battle royale style games, but creating things that can be a help to your defense or a help to your offense at that moment, and being able to see people coming. What are you going to do? To me, those kind of aspects of some games make them truly addicting to me because I want to know if I can outthink the opponent. And for me, I don't really get addicted to many games. I'm kind of addicted to The Witcher. I think that just the girth of it, the thickness of that game, the veniness of that game.
Would you compare it to maybe the thickness of maybe say an Atlanta Anaconda somewhere?
You know what? I think I would, brother. I think I would. I'm addicted to that because I've never seen anything like it, barring maybe a GTA style game. It's so polished and so well made and so well crafted. It's like you play it, but at the same time you admire it the whole time. Briar, you know what I'm saying. Everything about that game is admirable, and it's kind of hard to believe that a team of people sat for years and made it, and you're like, oh my god, it's a work of art.
It's a sweet, man, that you are like 100 hours into The Witcher 3 and you're getting your PC this week. It just makes me die inside every time that you tell me
I'm well over 100 hours though.
He's been talking about buying the game over again.
Yeah,
he will.
It is.
He's going to give me eight reasons why. He's probably already he knows all 8. He's going to say the first one first to see how it hits me, and then he'll wait for a day or an hour on Twitter.
Give him another one.
Second reason. And then he's going to hit me, and I'm going to say, Kate, he's right. And she's going to look at me and say, fucking Gary. By the time the 8th reason comes, I'll be swiping the card, hitting PayPal.
So something that I think is kind of universal right now with what is addictive or addicting about a lot of video games, and a lot of people don't realize it, is the team building exercise of Fortnite, PUBG.
Oh yeah, that's huge.
You know what I mean? And I don't think people.
That's why I play Destiny.
Yeah,
like, that's it right there.
Same thing. Destiny. There's plenty of other options. Even Call of Duty. Overwatch. Like all these team building aspects and teaching you to work with other people. Try to keep a level head. No one likes a hot head. You know what I mean? And yeah, there's competitive nature in there, but like I can tell you a handful of games that I've won, but I can tell you about 100 different stories of Gary riding around on his motorbike and Briar shooting people for scopes than I ever could have win. You know what I mean? Or, Great's mom doing something stupid. That's my character in PUBG for those who don't know. Great's mom just doing something stupid, I'm just going to rush these guys and jump off the building. I can tell you a million more interesting fails than I ever could 10 wins. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, and it don't get me wrong. Every now and then me and Briar will sit down and we're like, okay, any of us will sit down and be like, we want to win a game today. We want to go flawless.
It's scary to be in that lobby. It's very, very, the pressure is on your shoulders. Kate really, when she's playing like in a game, like we're doing like a raid or something, the times we have and Briar's there and Briar's serious, he intimidates her. She's watching right now.
It's serious in the moment, but if somebody wipes, it's not a big deal. Like, but like every now and then we'll set out and start a PUBG game and just know that from the moment Briar selects or I select a certain drop zone, I could be like, okay, this is going to be a fuck all, let's have fun drop. Or we may win the fuck all, have fun drop, and then get serious. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we'll be like, okay, we're pretty invested in this round, so we better get serious. You know, and
it's like this, right? This is what Briar will do. You know, no one tries to die, and like you might die or something will go wrong, and Briar will say, Beastly, you're supposed to stay alive during this part. Shit like that. And how the fuck do you respond to that?
That's supposed to be a joke.
Oh man, I love you guys, man.
Just logs off in tears mostly.
Great. Next couple of weeks is going to be fantastic.
For what makes a game addicted though, it's never one thing for me. It's got like a game to really grab me. It's got to be a bunch of shit, right? Like in the case of like, it's not necessarily the same shit over and over again. Like in the case of The Witcher, it was really the story and the world and the characters and the side quests. That's what kept me coming back to The Witcher. It's just the world. The world of The Witcher 3 was just so. It was so absorbing to me, and just meeting all the characters and meeting all like being Geralt.
Were you immersed?
I thought was just so. Oh yeah, totally immersed. It was just so. I just enjoyed that world, right? The combat, it's kind of throwaway combat as far as I'm concerned in The Witcher 3. There's other things about The Witcher 3 that aren't perfect, but like you look at Destiny, the first Destiny, the reason I got addicted to that game was, like Wilson said, there's a big social component to it, but also I don't think I'd ever played a game before where I could combine my PvE loot grind with my PvP power, right? Like, the better I did in PvE, the more powerful I felt in PvP.
Yeah.
Right? Especially in early Destiny when, you know, you could go into the Vault of Glass and you could get yourself a Vision of Confluence. You could get yourself what was the, goddamn, I can't remember that name of the fusion rifle.
Oh, Praetorian Foil.
No, the automatic fire fusion rifle
Vex.
that was a primary. The Vex Mythoclast. Like, you literally become the most powerful guardian on the battlefield, like, with one lucky drop. And then it was like, once I like realized that I liked raiding and like being in this group, like it became like a whole thing. So for me, there's definitely like a depth that I enjoy in games. And when I find depth, like whether it be in Monster Hunter or even in the Hunt that me and Gary have been playing, there's a ton of depth in there. Like that's a big draw, but you've also got to have fun. Like it's got to be enjoyable to spend time in there. There's got to be reasons to keep me coming back. There's got to be, you know, a reward for me continuing to play, and the social aspect is huge. I'll play a game I don't really like just to hang out with my friends, to be honest with you.
We're playing The Last of Us on Tuesday.
No, I played that once. I'm done.
One and done.
One and done. That was the most frustrating multiplayer experience I ever saw.
Absolutely
it was in a world where I was already mad about all of the claymores and shit in Call of Duty.
I fucking did it. Look, Brian.
In a world like that, Beastly, all Beastly did for fucking 1 hour was lay fucking like invisible bombs all over the map. So you just be walking around, and all of a sudden, bam, you're dead.
Would you call that
around,
maybe,
bam, you're dead.
Like, would you call that maybe like a bitch move? So you'd call that maybe a bitch bomb?
I would.
I believe that is the actual name of that kind of move. It's in the
we
DoD
played
strategy guide.
We played for an hour. I was like, I never want to play this game again. This is just so stupid.
I feel so bad, right? Because after we played, this was what, 2.5 years ago we played this, and after I saw the disdain in Briar's eyes. I heard the gurgling sounds of death coming from his throat. Every time he strolled past one of these hidden gems. And I used to do this a lot. I don't do it at all anymore. But Kate said, "You're the reason he hates the game." And I was like,
yeah, it's true.
I am.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that, though.
How great it is because of me.
It's not just that. Is that game had the most inscrutable control system, too. It was like the buttons didn't make any fucking sense.
It's the same as the game. It's the same as the game.
My problem with it was
it is the game. It's a bad control. It's a bad control layout.
To me, it felt like running through a pool of Jello whilst the air was made of butter. is what it felt like to me. Like it was very.
Hardcore.
It's just butter and Jello. The first
Who
two
was
things.
it, Brian, that used to play with you in Destiny all the time that drifted over to that game and you said he was telling you about it? Was it Milky? I mean, I'm trying to think. I can't remember his name. One of your guys from the Milky Sirloins went over. Yeah, it was Skinny. Brian, you told me. Yeah.
He played
Skilly Milk.
I think he played it until he platinumed it.
Yeah. Well, shit.
He's on that platinum grind.
That's a bad fucking boy. I love you, Skinny. I love you.
I gotta pee. I'll be right back.
Okay.
So
Drain the wheeze.
I don't really find any games addictive. If I'm honest with you, I don't get addicted to games. For me, I'm more addicted is the wrong word, but I just get enjoyment from the hobby or the pastime of gaming. So more and more, I've found that I like social games, definitely, but I also like the solitary experiences. I like to play alone. Yeah, I like a game that's cerebral and speaks to me alone, and I like a story game, and I like an adventure game. Like at the moment, I'm playing The Hunt with Briar online, so that's my social aspect. But I've also I finished Uncharted, so there was like a single-player narrative hole in my heart. So I started playing Bayonetta, and I'm really enjoying that. Like that to me is on Switch, yeah. So I've never played the Bayonetta series, so I'm playing through 1 and 2 in anticipation for 3. And that to me, you can definitely see the lineage through into Nier Automata. So you can see the Platinum Games lineage of how they move, how it plays, the sexuality of the character, and how they kind of done it. To me, that is an experience that I enjoy. I'm not addicted to it. I could not play it again, or I could play it for another 50 hours. It is what it is, and I don't find one more drawing than the other. I just enjoy the buffet that gaming offers, the different pleasure zones that it can hit, and you can just have so much fun with it.
So I'm seeing a trend here. Gun Gal, and I hear me out here. Like I'm no detective gumshoe.
Notes.
I'm no detective gumshoe sleuth here. All right, I did not know where in the world Carmen Sandiego was on any episode, but I am piecing together some evidence here. And you say you don't get addicted to a video game, all right? And I present my evidence. Gun Gal, Doki Doki Literature Club, Bayonetta. We already have a triple threat of scantily dressed women doing awesome shit, all right? And then Nier Automata, I mean, it's that whole Japanese fantasy.
Sakura
and
agent.
Secondly,
don't
how many
Google
fucking hours do you have in World of Warcraft, sir?
I have a lot.
Just guess. I know the answer to this, by the way.
God,
plenty. Plenty and plenty.
The last time I talked to you, it was around 11 to 13,000.
It was. That wasn't an addiction, though. That was.
Oh,
just...
really? I would call that madness.
Because it wasn't that I didn't feel compulsed to play it. It was just that was the game. There was nothing.
I call bullshit on that.
I never
invest that
felt
kind of time
to develop 13,000 hours into anything in my life.
There was just nothing out for those 5 years.
Nothing really caught my attention in that half a decade of gaming.
I've got to be honest with you. At MMOs at the time, I was just playing MMOs. I didn't just play World of Warcraft.
It sounds like MMO. I don't think you have 13,000 hours in any other MMO. And let's talk about another game that you play that you convinced me to buy all 15 versions of, Sakura Agent, which is straight
Honeycomb Studio, Honeycomb Pop, Sakura Agent, Sakura Blossom. There's lots of great games in that series.
Scantily dressed Asian
Look, I don't like looking at my Steam library, okay? Because I went to my Steam library just a few minutes ago, and I was like, wow, there's 36 games. And then I realized 20 of them were fucking hentai cartoon comic books. I don't want to see a bunch of cartoons wearing nothing, talking to me on screen, and then telling me I'll take this off.
The gem, basically, of Deep Space Waifu. That's my latest edition. True story. This.
Another not addicted game. We love you, Gary. And you know what, Gary? The first part of solving a problem is admitting that you have one. And I think Wilson laid out a very strong case for your addictive behavior and your predisposition of looking for scantily clad video game vixens.
The plaintiff rests their case.
I'm not going to defend my case anymore, but I am going to say that I've placed a Steam pre-order on Senran Kagura Peach Beach Splash, which is coming out.
You're confessing to crimes you haven't even admitted. You haven't even done yet. What are you doing? You're under oath here.
And look, he's not making it up because he says that whole tacky ass name like it ain't shit. He's really done this. What's the name of that game again, Gary?
Senran Kagura Beach Splash. It's the I guess the spin-off series to Senran Kagura Estival Versus and Shinobi Versus. The tagline is "The girls are back and this time they're wet."
It's like, drink beer, back in the can.
It's effectively. Have you ever thought of
Beach Splash? Oh my goodness.
Have you played Splatoon? Has everyone here played or familiar with the concept of Splatoon?
Yes.
So inks shooting each other with ink. I guess squids shooting each other with ink.
Yeah.
Imagine that, but instead of squids, there's
Is this
women
a wet
in
t-shirt
bikinis,
contest?
and instead of ink, they're shooting super soakers at each other. Who can get each other the wettest?
Oh my God, Gary. Let me just say, I'm looking at this freaky. I'm on Google right now, looking at this freaky ass shit. Okay, Gary. There just ain't there's no excuse for this. Okay, Gary.
It releases in 2 days, and it's 15% off on Steam at the moment.
Flip the Giant said it the best. Gary is not addicted to games. He's addicted to waifus.
That's true. That's true.
All right, I think we got time for one more topic.
I think we should go straight to the disappointments and saving our adult problems, because I think adult problems needs more than 12 minutes to
more
go
time.
through.
I think you're right.
Absolutely.
So on the flip side of an addictive game that you can't put down, or waifus that you just can't seem to ever get away from.
Put down.
Yeah. Let's
pick up.
Let's talk about the polar opposite end of that spectrum. So we all know what happens. We've all been guilty into buying into the hype or taking the recommendation of a game from a friend only to be let down. Disappointed, bamboozled.
Oh, tell me, brother.
Yeah. So with games, there's several games they're at the forefront of this charge. Games like No Man's Sky. People would argue, For Honor is in there. And yes, Lawbreakers. I'm gonna bring them up. So being on that front line of failures, what I'm more interested in is successful games that maybe didn't tickle your fancy. So, Lawbreakers, unfortunately was a failure from the start. No Man's Sky was one of those games that people bought into the hype.
The Order 1886.
So it doesn't have to be a total failure. What's a game that's very disappointing? Correct. So this happened to me. A couple days ago. Correct. I logged into Steam. And I saw that Chrono Trigger, one of my favorite games of all time, had been ported to Steam. And I clicked the little play video. I wanted to see how different it was. And, it's there. It's Chrono Trigger. The graphics look good. Looks great. They added a couple more dungeons, which blew my mind. I was in the room by myself, jumping out of my seat when I saw that they added more dungeons. And then I watched the video again, and I noticed the interface. They just straight fucking ported the mobile version of Chrono Trigger over to PC. So you can clearly tell that these buttons that you're pressing with your mouse are clearly meant for touchscreen because they're about this fucking big on your fucking screen when you want to do something. So you don't miss the button with your finger.
Do you know what's ironic there, Wilson, is that apparently, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't work on a touchscreen monitor either. It's even more embarrassing.
Damn.
Doesn't have touchscreen monitor support. Just add insult to injury on that one.
I was really excited. I could boot this thing up on an emulator and play it any day and have the experience that I remembered. But I wanted this in my Steam library, and I wanted
love the fact as well that
dungeons.
There's it's such a lazy mobile port that when you're entering your name, you enter the character name that you want to have in there. I love the fact that at the top of it says emojis are not supported in this name. It's just like they've left it in there. Not
Did you
one
see that
effort's been
IGN
made.
named their character emoji after seeing that?
I think it's the Spanish language version, still has references to it being a phone game. Like they didn't even.
Boo.
I mean, it's rough. It's a rough port.
With respect to the developers, they actually they challenged this the pushback or the blowback they got on Steam, and they said that this isn't a port of the original mobile version that's been out for 4 years or whatever it was. This is actually a port of a brand new mobile version. So they updated the mobile version 3 days ago, and then ported the new mobile version. So it is still a mobile port, but at least it's
I'm
a
still
3 day
tempted to get it because I have not experienced those 2 dungeons that didn't make the cut. But $15 for a crappy mobile port.
Well, why don't you just get it on the mobile? Because then at least you're getting it on the platform
Right?
it's meant to be
You can
on.
play whenever you want.
Because I can't play it at 144 hertz, Gary Diaz. That's why.
Gary.
You can if you get a Razer phone.
Yeah, there we go. Razer phone, 120 hertz monitor.
More
Up your
money.
phone game, bro.
More money that Gary wants me to spend. I've been thinking about it. You should really get a Razer phone.
Don't say it, Wilson. Don't say it.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
got an answer for this question, ready to go. It's the Division for me, right? I was excited when they first showed that game at E3.
Super excited.
And everybody was working together to shoot enemies, and it really felt like a tactical and really team focused shooter. I was so hyped for that game. And then the beta came out, and I was playing it with Inner Black Ninja and a bunch of friends, and I was having a ton of fun in the beta. Yeah, with Beastly. I was having a ton of fun because it was all the beta was really focused around being in the dark zone, right? And everybody was kind of level capped, I think at level 7 or level 9 or something. So everybody was approximately the same power. So you really had to work together. And then the game came out, and I didn't even get through the story because I was so bored with the story. Just being in that world, I felt was very boring. And shooting guys that just look like dudes, but putting 3 clips of headshots into these guys, it was just, for some reason, it broke some kind of immersive thing for me.
Yeah.
That I just couldn't get over. And then the game is better than it was now. I do respect the game for what it is now. They've added a lot to it. They've made it a lot more fun to play. They've improved it in a vast number of ways. But what that game launched as was just, I played No Man's Sky when it came out, but I felt like I'd expected more out of Division than I expected out of No Man's Sky. I was really looking for my next game with the Division, and it just, man, it was disappointing to me.
I hear you, man. You go roll on a dude with a whole clip of shotguns, and just because he has a 1990s starter jacket on, he is impervious to all means of projectiles that come out of your shotgun. It's no, bro, this is starter jacket.
And to
quality.
be fair, they have, like you say, Briar, they have addressed a lot of it, but god damn it, at launch it was rough. Well, it was rough. There was
I'm in the same boat as Briar. I put over 40 hours into the beta. 40 hours. What most people don't even put that into a regular full length game. And I'm wondering if they put too much out on the table during the beta, and we kind of got the meat and potatoes. Granted, we didn't get
too much. They put all there was, Wilson.
No, because yes, but no. As far as exploring, not every area was open, because I remember there was a library that you can climb up top, and me and my friends would just run servers and kill people and have the max bounty on us and climb up on top of that. And they had the back alley. You physically couldn't go there. So there was only one way up to the top of this building. So when we would get a max bounty, we would climb up, and there's only one way up. So climb up the rope, motherfucker. You're
you ready to get
take you a second to get your gun ready when you get up. But I feel you. I put a lot of time into that, and I'm kind of struggling with, is it the game, or was it because I put so much time?
Kuzi in chat is, I think, very correct, where he says it's an RPG, and a lot of people don't understand that. But that's not how that game was sold to me. That game was sold to me as a looter shooter, I feel.
Right.
And the shooting is what wasn't satisfying in any way to me.
Which is what you're mainly doing the entire time.
Right? It's your one of your 2 interfaces with the entire world is shooting it.
Well said. Exactly.
As a caveat, it was somewhat more fun to play, or is somewhat more fun to play on mouse and keyboard, but unfortunately the PC version was fraught with issues itself at launch. It wasn't I always think it's a failure when you don't make your game fun to play with a controller, because the console market are going to be the lion's share of your community, which we're seeing with Destiny 2, because it isn't as fun to play with a controller. People are just not enjoying the gameplay, and it's that exciting, I guess, the feel that you get with a controller shooting that makes it. I got a couple of disappointments. One which is obvious, I guess, to an extent, and one which is probably more controversial. If you're happy to move on to them, one being, I'm actually disappointed in Lawbreakers for a different reason. And Lawbreakers to me is more disappointing that it doesn't have a community. That to me was the biggest disappointment with it. So Wilson and I played the beta, I believe, and I bought the full release of the game because I enjoyed the beta. It was a game that I found had challenges. It was a game that I found difficult to play for a long period of time because it was so intensive to play. But it's a game that I would have probably hopped on and played in the same way that I play Destiny 2. Just, I played a few games, hopped off. It's now impossible for me to play that. Like earlier when we were playing The Hunt, there were 4 people playing Lawbreakers.
Wait, 4?
4 people.
So we talked about this 4 weeks ago, and it went from 11 players to 4.
Yeah. So it's physically impossible for me to play Lawbreakers on PC. I cannot play it. There may be more people on PS4. There might be like 6. I don't know. They don't have the stats on PS4, but
God, that's a shame, dude.
So I've got a game that I paid $20 for. I think it was like £15. That I can never play. I could play against bots, I guess.
Just real quick, Gary. I'm on nerdstash.com just looking into this story. According to this website, Lawbreakers averaged 4.8 players in the last month, according to Steam.
It probably sounds about right. I think they had
that's unbelievable.
A peak of 19 players at some point this month, but then they've had moments where there were 0 people playing, like large moments of that. The 19 players might have been people that agreed to meet at a certain time so they could get a game, maybe. I don't know. So that I mean, without going into let's kick the dead horse of Lawbreakers, that to me is the disappointment that I can't enjoy that game at any point.
Yeah.
That hurts more because you do enjoy the game, right? The game that released you did enjoy. It's just that
it's fun.
There's nobody there to play it with, and that sucks.
I probably put about 5 to 7 hours into the beta over the course of a weekend, and I had a lot of fun with it. It reminded me of a Overwatch meets Quake. I think it was you, Gary, that actually came up with that comparison.
I've got 10 hours played on it. Similar.
They should have put Gary in charge of marketing.
It felt really good. Like, what do you think is what drove the nail into the coffin of that game? I
think that people saw that game and thought it was a ripoff. That's what I think.
It was lackluster, not original enough of an idea.
It was the same idea, and
it's crowded.
Some of those characters were almost copy and pasted.
It's another hero shooter, but these heroes aren't that compelling, to be honest. To me personally, when I looked at the game, they weren't the heroes themselves were like I don't know, like you look at Street Fighter and then you look at like the tons of fighting games that came after Street Fighter, and like there were reasons some of them didn't succeed. They were like, I don't know.
Yeah, like you say, they're bland, they're generic. Like if you compare something like Tracer, who has a backstory and a history and a character and a personality, and then a character called the Wraith, and there's a good Wraith and then there's a bad Wraith, but they play exactly the same, they look exactly the same. Functionally, it wasn't a bad game. Another thing that put people off as well was the fact that Cliffy B is quite a prickly character, and he made the game intentionally difficult to play, so which is going to put people off. It's not an approachable game. It's a game that he thought the most elite of the elite were going to cling to. They didn't. Therefore, you've got a game that's inaccessible to the casual market. It was a game that was meant to be free to play and had a premium put on it, which it shouldn't have. It should have been a free to play game, which was the design direction of it. And they thought that by putting a price tag on it, it would validate the game somehow and make it more popular. It didn't work. Lots of reasons why it didn't work. But I have a more controversial last pick of game that disappointed me.
I got another one too after Gary.
Go for it. Oh, right, okay. Well, I'll go through this one quickly then. That was Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, you didn't like that at all.
Please.
I didn't like it at all. I played through the entire game on the PS4 for the first time, and it could well be that I played it on the PS4 for the first time, which is one of the reasons that I don't like it. I found it boring. I found it stale. I knew what they were trying to do from a design and an art standpoint, but what they were trying to do from an artistic standpoint did not resonate with me in the slightest. And I think it could be a combination of hype. It could be a combination of me playing a 15-year-old game now that just is a prettier 15-year-old game. No part of that was interesting to me. And I know I'm in the minority, but yeah.
So you didn't play it at
I
launch
suspect
on the
that has a
original.
lot to do with it, Gary.
Yeah.
Is that the fact that it is a 15-year-old game, and they updated it graphically, but they didn't do much else to it.
No.
They rebuilt it from the ground up. It's another game I bought. I haven't even loaded it up yet. And that's respectable, especially if you didn't play the original. You weren't a part of that magic that Team Eco kind of crafted.
Incredible on the PS2. Like, I mean, just imagine seeing those monsters on the PS2. There's nothing else like it. Now there's a ton of shit like it.
Yeah, it was a technological marvel that I think helped pave the way for what was possible in console games. And I'm not talking about like pushing the boundaries graphically, because like, yeah, the graphics were cool. The ideas and the expansiveness of a world, like that.
And the storytelling though too. It's like the storytelling. It wasn't just laid out for you in text. It was you had to kind of interpret what was going on.
Yeah, you're so right.
I feel like that game did a good job of making you feel small, and that was the big thing. It was a vast, massive world where you were very tiny, and you basically had to work hard to have an impact. With that said, Gary, I totally understand and respect your decision on that, because I may realize that it was a revolutionary game, but I got a confession here. Never played it.
I wanted to love it. That was the only thing. I wanted to love it.
So I get it, but I appreciate it for what it is and see what it was on PS2. So
yeah, for its time, and I can 100% understand that and agree with you guys that if you weren't a part of that initial magic, if you weren't in on kind of the it thing for the time for that year, that thing was Shadow of the Colossus. There's really nothing like it, and I feel kind of foolish that I haven't even loaded it up yet. But I'm like you guys. I think that Team Eco's control scheme, kind of like The Last of Us, Briar, needs a lot of work. I really felt it on The Last Guardian, and of course, this control scheme can be changed through the PlayStation itself. But I think as a company moving forward, they should have changed it, and they probably.
Let me ask you a question real quick, Beasley. When you change the control scheme on the PlayStation, you change it for every game, right? You don't change it game specific.
You do it, yeah.
So if I change the X to the circle and then I switch games, I got to go in and change it back. Right,
yeah, it takes 30 seconds.
I don't understand why in every game you just can't configure your controls.
That's a great idea.
I don't understand why that isn't a thing.
It's unfortunate.
Let me tell you about another game that was super disappointing to me. This is an older one. It's Perfect Dark Zero. Came out on the Xbox 360. It was a launch title for the Xbox 360, and it was the follow-up, obviously, to Perfect Dark, which was the follow-up to GoldenEye. GoldenEye, to me, was one of the best games of all time, right? And like, obviously, if you go back to that game right now, it's not going to hold up because the control is all wonky. They didn't have dual sticks to do it, but it was, at the time, a revolutionary game. The PvP was amazing. The game was awesome. I've never felt a game like I played a game that made me feel like James Bond before. And then Perfect Dark on the N64 was good. It wasn't as good as GoldenEye because it didn't have that GoldenEye license, but it was good. But GoldenEye Perfect Dark Zero for the Xbox, man, that game was trash. Like, it wasn't good. It wasn't even like good. Like, there were so many weird decisions. Like, they'd always have an arrow on the ground that was like pointing you to where you needed to go, so you never felt like you had any agency whatsoever. The guns didn't feel that good. They were super generic. The story was stupid. The graphics weren't that good. And you just bought a brand new Xbox 360. Oh man, that game was so disappointing. And it was. I feel like it was the first time that I saw Rare stumble.
Yeah,
and they've been kind of stumbling ever since.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember getting that game at GameStop and remembering how, and like you said, I think you nailed it. Comparing, because it followed up to GoldenEye or whatever. But I remember saying GoldenEye was awesome, Perfect Dark was really good, and I remember putting that in. And this was back during the time when I was an achievement hunter, an achievement whore, whatever you want to call it. and I would buy games specifically for gamer score sometimes, and I didn't even finish that game for the gamer score. I specifically remember that.
I don't think I ever finished it either.
Yeah, it just, like you said, the guns in Perfect Dark 1, they felt cool, they felt inventive. You know, you had a secondary function of a weapon. One of them you could throw down and it would become an automated turret.
Yeah,
that I thought was
like
really
the
cool.
briefcase one, right?
Yeah, it was like silver, and it was the briefcase, and you could throw it down on the ground and strategically place it and stuff like that. And it was really cheesy in PvP, but awesome in PvE. But in the multiplayer on the 360 version didn't feel as fun or as good as the one on N64. And I don't know if that's because it's coming off the hype of GoldenEye, because GoldenEye, in my opinion, revolutionized and was the pinnacle, was right up there with Halo Combat Evolved, split screen couch PvP.
I mean, Halo had the dual joysticks, and they kind of like, I don't want to say invented it, but they made dual joysticks work for a first person shooter. But GoldenEye didn't even have, they had one joystick and they used the face buttons to kind of.
Yeah, but like GoldenEye was also using the peripherals that were available to them
right?
at the time.
Yeah,
like people
but it was
were
completely
still playing
playable.
the shit out of it. Yeah. People, you were going over to your friend's house, and if there were 3 other people over there, you knew that you were grabbing that 4th controller and you were going to jump in.
Hell yeah!
And if you're that cheesy bastard that played Odd Job.
Yeah, it was shocking how quickly Rare kind of fell apart at that time.
That's a good example.
But then we've got Sea of Thieves bringing them back together.
Yeah, so hopefully, right? Hopefully.
Resurrection.
I'm going to go through mine real quick because I know we're crunched for time. But real quick, I wanted to talk about Perfect Dark Zero, Briar. It's a shitty game compared to the original, and of course to GoldenEye. But the first time I met Kate, when I went over her house, she was sitting on her couch playing this game, and I looked at her TV. Yeah, this is our first date when I went over to pick her up. This is what she was playing, and at that moment I was like, she doesn't know anything about good games, but she got a pretty good start. So that's as far as that goes. Now for me, real quickly, I got 3, but I'm going to mention them just for a second. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. I'm a Call of Duty fan. I didn't buy World War II because I've kind of joined the world almost, where I'm just. None of my friends are really playing it anymore. It's more of the same. I think that train for me is left. But Infinite Warfare was one of the first Call of Duties for me that promised to kind of add some new gameplay styles and kind of tweak the way that you moved around. They added this whole new system. And people were excited about it because it was, a new idea until we actually got it and started playing around with it. And then when we got it and we started playing, everybody was like, oh, this is cool. And it slowly became.
Are you thinking about Advanced Warfare?
I'm sorry, yeah, Advanced Warfare. Yes, you're absolutely right. Too many fucking warfares. Advanced Warfare. The game
had the scariest video game villain of them all, Kevin Spacey.
Right?
Yeah, sure did.
Actually, I really enjoyed that storyline for that game.
Literally.
Like, the story mode was really good for that game. The multiplayer was absolute ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't like the thrust system, this whole new way of movement. It was a cool idea, but in actuality,
Kevin Spacey and the thrust movement.
Yes, that's why they named it that. But Briar kind of nailed it a few years ago. The level layout with that movement system just did not make any sense. There were people bouncing back and forth. It looked like a ping pong. You'd be playing people.
It was utter chaos.
It just didn't make any sense. So that
you'd load into a map, and literally somebody can come from any fucking direction. It doesn't matter if there's a door or a window. It didn't matter. They come over the walls. They come over the buildings. They come from 360 degrees. There's no way to strategically kind of place yourself. It became purely a Twitch shooter. There's no more. It was the end of kind of strategic play to Call of Duty, I thought.
Yeah, that's why we should all get World War II. We should all get World War II and get back to it.
Did you just read that comment too?
Let me see.
Flip the Giant in chat just said Kevin Spacey's character really touched me as a child.
Is it too soon for Spacey comments?
No, it's not. It's definitely not.
That was great.
All right, what's the next game, Beasley?
The next game is Resident Evil 6. I don't know if you guys are Resident Evil fans. Probably not as big a fans as I am. I've been playing Resident Evil since the original on PlayStation 1.
Well, you disappointed that they actually made 6 of them, because that was mine.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just disappointed they didn't stop.
No, I thought Resident Evil 7
you
was
don't think Resident Evil
fantastic.
7 was great? Resident Evil 7 was incredible, man. That was the best return to form they could have had. And part of the reason I hate this game is because of games like Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil, along with Silent Hill, created the survival horror genre, where you have to survive in a very terrifying environment with limited supplies and resources. And that stayed true for at least 4 of the games. 5 veered off a little bit, and 6 to me completely left that whole survival horror aspect of what made Resident Evil special to me totally behind.
I was buying and enjoying those games beastly, like Code Veronica, like
so good.
Right up till 4. I mean, even 4. Although 4, I gotta say, I didn't like on the GameCube. It wasn't until I played it on the Switch that I really got into it because the aiming was so weird.
What do you mean Resident Evil 4 is on the Switch?
Yeah, not Switch. Wii with the Wii controller.
Oh yeah. That is really cool.
Yeah.
But Resident Evil 6, it took that whole aspect of what Resident Evil was away, and it replaced it with this
different series.
Yeah, it was a military action game, kind of like Umbrella Operations, where you're basically a super soldier, super fast, super strong, super powerful. I haven't read it yet, Briar. And to me, I had no real reason to be afraid because, like the Resident Evil films, with this new character that they created in the films, you are a super soldier instead of a person who's fearing for his life, trying to survive, trying to help people who you can. And it took, I think, the first 2 characters played as Leon, which they did have a survival horror style for his portion of the game. Then it went to Chris Redfield and completely left that out of the game, and you were just some action hero. And Kate and I, we actually played that together. And once we got done with the second story, we never went back to it. And that was super disappointing. And my last honorable mention is the Order 1886. The Order 1886.
Hold on. I want to talk about Resident Evil with you a little bit.
Sure.
Because it's a series I'm actually pretty passionate about. Because I've enjoyed them pretty much all the way through. I'm interested to see what they're going to do now. Because Resident Evil 7 was a pretty big success. And they launched Resident Evil 7 with the PlayStation VR support, which I adored. Like, I'm not even a horror person, but like the visceral response you get from that. I was actually surprised come January that they didn't release PC support for VR on that game. I was kind of expecting they were. So it'll be interesting to see what they do for Resident Evil 8. Will they stick with that kind of game?
Survival
Will they move on? Because they had a huge success with 4 and completely switched it up. So there's no telling with these guys. These guys are mavericks, man. They can do anything. They can fly the tower anytime.
Don't make me upset.
Changing it up. You got to be careful of changing it up too much. And these may be too old and outdated examples, but they took a chance with Legend of Zelda 2. And that's a lot of people's most hated ones. They took a chance with Castlevania 2, which is a lot of people's most, and that's my favorite one.
I like Castlevania 2.
My favorite.
Yeah, but and I guess a more modern example would be, they changed a lot of things about Halo, with the most recent Halo, and that didn't really get a good reception. There's a balance between, I don't like it when people change stuff just because they feel that there needs to be change. It needs to be an impactful change, and
I don't even feel like the changes they've made to Halo are why I don't play Halo anymore. To me, it's the fact that the Halo story was kind of done. Like the Master Chief story was kind of over with. And even when I played Halo 4, I was like, this doesn't have any meaning to me anymore. Like, I played this story. I played with these characters. Like, I went through this epic journey with these characters, and it just doesn't hold any weight to me anymore. Maybe I'll jump into a little multiplayer, but honestly, Halo 4 didn't do it. And then I didn't even buy Halo 5, which I can't even believe that. As big a Halo fan as I was, yeah.
Right,
You're a much bigger fan than I am, and I picked it up. But it's, for me, the later Halos held a lot less weight, especially once the initial team stepped away from the project and it went into other hands and with new ideas, kind of regurgitating old stories. So I 100% agree with you there. But my honorable mention is the Order 1886. Who doesn't remember all the hype that went into this game?
I bought the fucking super special
collector's edition. Yeah. I mean, showing it, the little vertical slices that they shown, it was like an old school 1800s era what I thought was werewolf and vampire shoot 'em up, and to me
with
that
Gears of
idea,
War style.
yeah, cover
Yeah.
system. So I was like, this is going to be incredible. And of course, the game looked phenomenal. I mean, it's still
It did,
possibly one
yeah.
of the best looking PS4 games out right now. But upon playing it and realizing that it was a completely hollow package, characters were throwaway. There was no real resolution as far as the characters learning something about themselves and becoming better, or learning really anything about these characters other than the quick 5 to 6 hour campaign. And on top of that, I mean, the game looked great, but on top of beating the game, there was literally, at the time, I don't know about today, zero reason to ever play it again. So it was a very short experience, but upon completing the game, you don't get a game plus mode. You don't get any
So much of
extra.
the game was like that 5 to 6 hours too. So much of it was like cinematics and like quick time
Yeah.
events. It wasn't
was, yeah.
even like gameplay.
And it was like, kind of like little boxes of shooting galleries. It wasn't like you did a lot of moving around.
No,
There would be a
terrible
cinematic cutscene, and then you'd turn around, the camera would shift, and it would be like a shooting gallery. There'd be 3 or 4 people. You'd shoot them, then someone would come through the side doors. You'd shoot them, and you'd walk forward to another door to another cinematic scene. And that was so disappointing. I actually reviewed that game a few years ago, and my Sony hat. I couldn't say that it was a bad game. And that was, I guess that's growth as a gamer. I couldn't say that this is just not worth your money. I did say in the review that, it'd probably be a better game to rent. But as of right, looking at it and really reflecting on how horrible that experience was, I could never, tell a person that it's worth picking up and buying.
It's like a
unless
glorified tech demo.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was very frustrating to me.
Yeah.
And that's my
Is that a
disappointment.
Super Mario hat you're wearing, Wilson?
Yes, isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that is
So-
pretty awesome.
So it's not like official, like
It's an
kinda-
unofficial
you
Super
could-
Mario
Well,
hat.
no, you can kind of tell that like
Mario's
some of the
different.
facial features are a little slightly off. So these
Smart.
are actually, these are actually glass images. There's a style of glass blowing called millefori, and it stands for 1,000 flowers, and it's where you basically take an image of something and make it very, very small. So picture a rod of glass about as big around as this pencil, about 8 millimeters.
Gary?
If I was to cut it in half and you looked at the end, you would see this image on there. And like, you would see this image. So all these images are millefori that this guy puts on the side of a tube or something like that. And then the inside of the hat, for our
That is-
viewers,
Oh,
you can
wow.
see it's got all
Chris,
like little Tanuki Mario, all these little
He can-
images.
The beauty of what
And
he's doing
I
there,
believe
the
there's even
creator,
a little stash pocket right there,
because he slightly changed the look. I think this is fair use, and he can do that with anything he wants.
No, he
to.
could get a cease and assist at any time, 100%.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
There's been a
other
few
people's IP for this stuff.
there's been a few
That's
glass
fucking
blowers
awesome.
who did Hello Kitty stuff. Josh Oppendaker and Saki Bomb did a lot of Hello Kitty stuff, and they got a cease and assist order within like 3 months.
3 months of easy money. Awesome, guys.
and
Probably.
that was our biggest disappointments in gaming. Made it through.
We should wrap this up. We're way over time.
Yeah, I'm starving. Let's go eat something. Let's go get something
Yeah,
to eat. You
man.
guys
Gone
want to
to
get some
sleep.
pizza?
You
What are you
guys need to-
thinking?
Some of us,
Chinese?
it's 20 past 1 a.m. and we're just waiting to sleep.
Oh,
I do
I'm
want to
sorry,
end the show
Gary.
actually with probably the most important thing that we've had all evening, and that is I follow a lot of Steam curators, and the one that I give the most credence to is a curator known only as Waifu Hunter. And what he does is he navigates the world of Steam, and he'll give a review on a game based on the quality of the waifu that it contains. Only that will be the credence to what he. His review of Final Fantasy IX was not waifus, too much clothing. That was my favorite Final Fantasy IX.
More evidence
He's,
that you are addicted to waifus.
It's so true.
he has highly recommended Senran Kagura Peach Beach Splash.
Is it?
and
I'm
his
sorry.
comment-
Like you keep saying it, but I'm not exactly sure what you're saying. Are you saying peach beach?
Peach Beach Splash.
So PA.
Peach, beach as in Beach, and splash as in splashing in the water.
Okay.
Now, Waifu Hunter has curated this game, and I want to leave you with these closing thoughts of a game that releases in 2 days' time on the 7th of March. It's Senran Kagura, but with a somehow even greater focus on skimpy outfits, jiggly breasts, and high-quality waifus. This is quite possibly the final apex of human societal achievement. It's like a non-fake moon landing.
Oh my god.
Thank you for watching Revolver episode 31. We'll see you next week.